Good evening to the parliamentary colleagues. Mr. Speaker, firstly, I want to thank God for the opportunity of being here, the strength and the gift of life. I also want to thank my parents, my family, and my daughter, who is even so encouraging at a very tender age for, always reminding me that whenever I stand here to speak, I speak for a different generation. I don't just speak for myself. I also want to thank the constituency with the villages of Penville, Vacas, and Thibault, and who also has positively impacted my life, Mr. Speaker. I want to take this moment to condole with the family of Jane Bellot, or commonly known as Kit, on the passing of her daughter. And yesterday, I had to drive down to Portsmouth to attend this funeral. And it was a really hard time for me personally, because we were presenting on an agriculture budget. Basically, it was predicated on salmon and eggs. Mr. Speaker, which also dealt with the issue of food production in our country and how we move forward, Mr. Speaker. And it reminded me of the experience that Tamisha and I shared as young children growing up on the same farm. The same farm, Mr. Speaker, on the banana plantations, where we started off washing the bananas together, and then when you grow up as a young guy, you are responsible now to carry those bananas. And it brought me back to these memories. And I was driving down and I'm saying, I also heard that we have the best road surfaces. And I'm saying, thank God the road from Roseau to Portsmouth wasn't that difficult, that I could get there on time and come back and do service to my country. And Mr. Speaker, it was also a point to reflect upon my community. Here it is that this individual, being born in Penville, can't be buried in Penville because we do not have a public cemetery. And I was like, that is the 7th one I have attended where we have to bury our people in Portsmouth. And considering the Sustainable Development Goals, Mr. Speaker, goal number 11 that deals with strengthening of communities, building strong communities, I want to take this opportunity. Thank you very much. The 4 guys who died, they are abandoned on the piece of land. That government, but we abandoned them because up till now, we haven't registered that cemetery as a public cemetery for the community. So I am very grateful that you brought that up. And it is a dreadful shame. And I am asking right here, Mr. Speaker, that we consider strengthening the community of Penville by granting us that humble request, Mr. Speaker. And we heard in this opening speech of this presentation, let us not let a good crisis go to waste. And let us take that opportunity to really improve on the communities. And I'm really happy that Mr. Honorable Ian Douglas ably brought that across, a good timely reminder of their failures. Mr. Speaker, the annual budget of this government gives you the opportunity to change your priorities and adjust your policies, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, this year's presentation gives me the impression that some of the existing evidence has been either ignored or misinterpreted, Mr. Speaker. And a closer look at this presentation will clearly reveal that many of these plans are falling short of adequately addressing the immediate needs of our people, especially those earning low wages, the unemployed, the elderly are struggling, Mr. Speaker. People must be our priority. Mr. Speaker, by no means, and I want to put it as a header to my presentation, at no means I am saying that there are not things in this budget that will really improve our people. There are certain things, and later down in my presentation, as I have already prepared it, is that I want to highlight the gaps that it can remain fresh in your minds, that when you go back, you could make the adjustments. And later on, I hope the Honorable Reginald Oster will give me some more time to point out the strengths in the system, because I am always trying to come here to be balanced and to indicate how well we can do things, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I also make it a core principle of mine that I don't challenge the issue of healthcare or make it into a partisan discussion, Mr. Speaker. Healthcare is too critical, it is too important for us as a developing country, and I really don't feel comfortable in going into it and making it a political issue. But I want to bring a humble recommendation. The OECD countries would normally apportion 5 to 18% of the capital, 5 to 15% of the capital expenditure towards healthcare. Last year, when we were restricted of the opportunity of presenting, I was going to commend the government on the issue of healthcare because we had already exceeded what is expected for developing countries. We had apportioned almost 8% of new investment into the healthcare system. And that is what comes back to my question of whether we overlook that critical data. Because this year we are falling below 3%. And we can do better than that. And I'm sure, and coming back to the same drive that I took on to post, but thinking again, I'm saying, here it is a family lost one daughter, the younger daughter, through cancer. And 1 year after, the other one who was employed and gaining bread for the family in Portsmouth passes after a surgery, Mr. Speaker. We need to put greater investment into health, and I'm willing, and I'm saying it forefront, if there is any other supplementary appropriation for this particular period for healthcare, I'll be the first to stand and applaud Dr. McIntyre, because I believe as well, this is one of the ministries that has the right person in the right position. That is one of the ministries I know that is being led by the person at the helm, not the others which are gleaning on the support of the Prime Minister. And Mr. Speaker, I will definitely, I'm here in the discussion, Mr. Speaker, that I can come across. No, I don't cross. My old people always warn me. They tell you when you are in a good house, a bad house calls you. So, Mr. Speaker, 2.7%, Mr. Speaker, a drop. 2.7%, Mr. a drop of 4.5%. And Mr. Speaker, I also want to point out that Honorable Riviere also mentioned another big gap in the system. He said, we have a good hospital, well equipped, with a morgue in case you don't make it. So you go into a hospital, and in case you don't make it, I have a morgue waiting in slips for you to catch you. Mr. Speaker, yes, it is a fact of life that erodes. It's a fact of life that erodes. It's a fact of life that erodes the significance of a hospital, because your first intention to the hospital is that you will come out and make it. And if I have Dr. Daru there in the hospital, I know I'll make it. I'll tell you why. Because Dr. Daru was my district medical officer, and I can never regret the interactions and the contributions and the qualities he instilled in me that he now has forgotten. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to point that out, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I sat there and I listened intently to the Minister of Trade, Entrepreneurship, Innovation, Business and Export, Mr. Speaker. And it was heartbreaking to listen to his insipid presentation, Mr. Speaker. And I will say why. I sat down and I listened to the Honorable Leader of the Opposition commend him by saying that he used 97% of his allotment throughout the past year. And Mr. Speaker, I had to remind the Honorable Leader, remember, just 1% of the capital expenditure he had, so after all, he had to do something with it. Mr. Speaker, because the trend was the year before, he had 1.8, and this year he had 2.7, Mr. Speaker. And I'm looking forward for him to take out that concept, in my mind, that his ministry is a root crop. His ministry, and he spoke about agriculture, his ministry is growing in the downward projection, Mr. Speaker. And I must also remind him that he has a talent. He has a very good talent, Mr. Speaker. But there are two things I have to also remind him of. That the language of the past is not fully equipped to address the challenges of today. And if you keep looking, the second one is if you keep looking behind to determine your future, then your future is behind of you. And you can't run Dominica like that. We cannot move Dominica like that, Mr. Speaker. So the overall issue of job creation, Mr. Speaker, is understanding this year's budget, Mr. Speaker. The governments need to develop the knack of creating new jobs, notwithstanding our numerous resources, Mr. Speaker. How many jobs will be created in this budget, Mr. Speaker? I look at the estimates, Mr. Speaker. A lot of numbers, very good figures in certain areas. I will be honest, some programs will definitely improve the living conditions of our Dominicans. Mr. Speaker, under each program area, staffing, estimates, established staff, 0. Non-established staff, 0. Estimates for the next year, how many staffs you're going to move from non-established positions into established positions. No, they done that. Mr. Speaker, that is incomplete. That is unacceptable. How many people are you going to improve their lives? Those that are employed. I have a friend, a teacher, 15 years unappointed in the system. A young man, Mr. Speaker. A young, strapping man. You know what you're doing? 15 years of no increment. No, he's a qualified teacher. He's a qualified teacher. Mr. Speaker, and if it was a situation where I'd congratulate him, I'd call his name. But he posted on Facebook after teachers' graduation. There are a lot of qualified teachers, all of them graduating. But they're 15 years unappointed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we cannot do that to ordinary Dominicans. And Mr. Speaker, he's from the Vilcas constituency, from my village, Mr. Speaker. And that cannot continue, Mr. Speaker. So how many new jobs are we creating? The figures are there. Who is going to implement those figures? The figures themselves. We have to start catering for each and every Dominican. We have 70,000 people, and a good, prominent person told me that none of them should go to waste, my brother. I think he's the second powerful or third powerful person on the island, Mr. Speaker. You know who, Mr. Speaker? Nothing goes to waste. Mr. Speaker, so we have seen good initiatives started by the private sector. A lot of them come to halt. And I like to be honest and fair. Mr. Speaker, how many decent jobs will be created versus what we are spending, Mr. Speaker? The Minister of Trade, again, Mr. Speaker, he has the opportunity to explore new markets, remove technical or non-technical barriers to trade through bilateral relations. That is your responsibility. We come here and we say, if you are lucky enough, you will get to sell produces in Barbados market, if you are lucky, but you don't have to create the lock. We don't have to remove those barriers and allow our people to trade freely, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, that is one of the things that will, if done well, will epitomize our efforts here and will make sure that we can give our people that true economic independence, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we need to also ask the question, Mr. Speaker, why so many of the ministers here today spoke solely about agriculture. At one point in time, I felt that we didn't have an agriculture minister. But I remember I was in Dominica, and I said, yes, agriculture should be the backbone of our economy. And I make no qualms about it, that now that we have seen the light, let us all start to fight to push the agricultural industry, because $1 in a farmer's hand feeds 5, because the farmer has his wife and his family, his children to feed, Mr. Speaker. And I'm really happy that finally, we are getting the real sense. But it also begs a question. And while the Prime Minister was presenting, he spoke about a university in Portsmouth, coming to Portsmouth. I started clapping. I started clapping because I remember people from Paybush, people from Benz, Ansdime, Penville. Yeah, I can call 2 of them who had apartments and they standing languishing. I, as a young man at age 23, made my first investment of $130,000 to buy land in Picard. I share boundaries with Emmanuel Nanta. Right there as a young man, Mr. Speaker, with the hope that I would invest my earnings in my country. And there's nothing wrong in doing that. But the university has left. I heard the cries of Rev. Alexis as well. I heard the cries of Eric George. I heard the cries of those individuals who invested heavily in Portsmouth. And you want to come there and tell me I shouldn't clap? Mr. Speaker, I will clap, I will bang the tables, Mr. Speaker. I'll be animated because I know the pain that our people are going through, Mr. Speaker. Remember, and I want to bring it here because I also observed the Deputy Speaker of the House use an invective to ask us, what do we do? I don't do much. But the little that I do, all of it goes to people. Mr. Speaker, 14 years in the public service as an environmental officer, and as a matter of fact, you could go back to my file. I was the only officer that worked 2 districts and got paid the salary of 1. A little contribution, a little honorarium for doing human service to my country, Mr. Speaker. And the two districts, I want to put them on record. Vegas, which spans from Penville to Hampstead, and Portsmouth, that spans from Capuchin to Anzalien, Mr. Speaker. So I know the whole north. And I had 5 ministers there, Mr. Speaker. So I know the struggles of the people, Mr. Speaker. And likewise, Mr. Speaker, 5 of them in the north. You want me to count? No. I'll keep moving. So, Mr. Speaker, the other side, Mr. Speaker, or the administrative arm of government, need to trust Dominicans to move ahead. And I'm seeing that move through the budget for agriculture is very good. Mr. Speaker, you see, I sense that they finally believe that people ought to have their own money in their pocket, Mr. Speaker. And it's not just hand down, Mr. Speaker, but money, real tangible cash, Mr. Speaker, that people can make their own life decisions. And of course, I will welcome that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have also told my daughter as well, pocket money stops at 18. After that, you get up and you earn your money, you make your own life decisions, and only expect daddy to give you gifts. Apart from that, you make your own decision. I said you can only expect gifts. I can give her a yacht. What's wrong in giving her a yacht? But, Mr. Speaker, this administration, after 20 years of the best economic conditions we had for generations, Mr. Speaker, they had the opportunity to develop a real bright future for Dominicans. But through outlandish political maneuvers, you forget agriculture, and now we are right back here again where we should have been a long time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I saw the Honorable Prime Minister languish. He drink water to cry that why we buying water, you know. Mr. Speaker, why we buying water? And I am saying, did you forget that the free trade agreement exists? What you need to do is improve on inefficiencies to get our people to compete on a regional and the world market, Mr. Speaker. Not to listen, there's a very good, and I just want to point that out to the Minister of Trade again, in his constituency, alkaline water is the go now. And you have a company there, regardless of who that person is or what that person do, get, or buy it from him if you don't want, get him to do it and improve on the person's ability to export. Mr. Speaker, that is how you think. If you cannot beat the system, you go around it. And Mr. Honorable Ian Douglas, And I want to remind you again, you are from an industrious family. You're in the right position, but you're just not performing, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and we really would like to see better being done, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a government's main duty is to adequately address the needs of the people who they are called to serve. And every day, Mr. Speaker, we have to be reminded of that instead of trying to capture them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you're going to protect me, but I have my chance of troubling them, so I am aware of that.
Senator, you see, well, I had a short meeting with the opposition members, but you were not there. And I pointed out to them certain things that are unparliamentary. For example, what you just did there was unparliamentary. Well, because, you see, you have an opportunity to take it back. You understand? Because I think you should withdraw that statement, because you are actually saying something really negative about the minister. So I would ask you to take it back, withdraw it.
What should I take back, Mr. Speaker?
Where you say that he's not performing, you're judging him now. You're getting involved in personality issues. But if you see, but in that case, Senator, in that case, it's up to you. You understand?
Mr.
It's
Speaker,
up to you. But I'm advising you to take it back.
I will try the best interest of my time.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I hope it's not a running clock, because in basketball we are running clock.
No.
So the time that you stop me, I can get it back.
So withdrawn?
I withdraw it, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, I'll come back and add it that seemingly, Mr. Speaker, there is need for improvement in that ministry, Mr. Speaker. All right, Mr. Speaker? Instead of finding ways, Mr. Speaker, we need to find new ways, Mr. Speaker, to earn additional cash so government can see exactly that what their interventions are really improving the lives of the people. Mr. Speaker, we also had a discussion about the efficiency of government payout and tax collection, Mr. Speaker. And I listened keenly to the Prime Minister. And I had the opportunity as well at lunchtime, and that's why I came back late. I had the opportunity at lunchtime to run to the customs to pay for a vehicle on the port, Mr. Speaker. And when I got there with the check, Mr. Speaker, you can buy live, but you want to touch my hands. My hands is that I work hard, and he was questioning what do I do. So after I finish, you will be able to understand what I do. I don't have to come and say it. So, Mr. Speaker, cash, come to cash to pay. Cash are closed 2 o'clock in this modern day. 2 o'clock for lunchtime, Mr. Speaker. We have a serious department that collects you telling me you're too busy to collect government money? And Mr. Speaker, I didn't just stop there. I went back, and I've seen a trend of overtime for custom department. This is the department that gets the most overtime in government system, Mr. Millions of dollars in overtime. It says two things: that whoever is responsible is not a good manager. And I will explain. If you have so much overtime, that means your staff is overworked, number one. The overtime is so much that you can validate employing new people to improve on the efficiencies in the system. Number three, your customs is your main defense as well. So things will sneak in because people are overworked and put all of us at risk. Mr. Speaker, we have high rates of unemployment among youth. Get some young people and employ them and create jobs. That's all you cannot do, Mr. Speaker. Simple thing for ordinary Dominicans, and improve the lives of Dominicans, improve our efficiency and time. You can never put a value on time. Look, I come late for the house. A person from Penville coming down to clear their vehicle, leave a day's work. If it's an ordinary farmer, $50 a day for 4 hours, Mr. Speaker. You lose that. You pay gas. You come down. Cash are closed. You can't clear the vehicle. You have to go back up to come back another day. We need to become efficient so that our productivity can increase, Mr. Speaker. And I am humbly, I might say it in a forceful way, but I am humbly suggesting, as a responsible government, we should look at those things and improve for our people, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let us also consider the issue of the road
8 more minutes.
The road license. Papa, Mr. Speaker, that time going fast.
Mr. Speaker, I want to move that the member be given an additional 15 minutes to complete his presentation.
It has been moved and seconded that the senator be given an additional 15 minutes. Those in favor?
Aye.
And give Mr. 15. Fine.
Okay, there's a counter proposal. So the first proposal, do you agree the counter proposal?
No, they don't agree. Or none. Or none.
No, remember, it's a negotiation. No, we haven't put it to a vote. So the minister gave a counter proposal. The first proposal, are you going to yield to go with the minister proposal?
But voted on it already, Mr.
No, we haven't voted. That's what I'm saying.
You said
We have not voted. Are you slipping? So, again, I'm asking the first proposers. The minister have a counter proposal which is asking instead for 5 minutes. Yes. Yes.
I wish to amend the first motion to request an additional 7 minutes and 30 seconds for the member to complete his presentation.
You need a second? It has been moved and seconded that the senator be given an additional 7.5 minutes. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Senator, you are given an additional 7.5 minutes.
Much obliged, Mr. Speaker. Much obliged. But, Mr. Speaker, you see, then again, that is exactly where I want to have Honorable Reginald, what is your last name again? Austri. Mr. Speaker, that's exactly where, because I said I am going to point out the gaps in the system and then show the strengths and what I support in the budget. But he is convinced that there are not enough things, or it's only 7 minutes I can talk about the good things that happen. So, Mr. You understand why I can't support the budget? All right. So, Mr. Speaker, that is exactly where he's caught, Mr. Speaker, and he shall slip right there. Mr. Speaker, so easier payments options should be allowed to control. You're not making me miss that point. I come in right back, Mr. Speaker. So the road issue, Mr. Speaker, we saw the Prime Minister said that we will remove we'll slash the road license to ensure that because of the fuel prices that individuals will be able to pay that, make it easier to pay, because he knows that that is one of the taxes we're not collecting properly. That we always have to have people coming to ask for waivers because things are tough and they cannot pay for it because of the government not doing well enough, Mr. Speaker, to allow people enough money to pay for their road license, Mr. Speaker. Likewise, those who had the road maintenance taxes, Mr. Speaker, it is no longer applied, so you save $100. But for the young people, they are saying, boy, let me pay my $100, and I'll tell you why, Mr. Speaker. So the young fellas that have a race car or a sports car, you have your expensive rim, you have shocks, you have one tire costing in excess of $500, and they take away the levy to fix the road. When your car falls, you and your chick in the road, the rim break, tire cut, Mr. Speaker, that is $5,000. I prefer pay my $100, Mr. Speaker. And that is how they don't think, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, so, Mr. Speaker, I am suggesting, Mr. Speaker, humbly suggesting that you want to have individuals paying small but regular installments. Find a figure. Vehicles and fuel are synonymous. You need the fuel. The vehicle will not drive if without fuel. So, put the same road license, you must pay. Put it on the fuel. So somebody will prefer pay 50 cents on a gallon at the pump every time, Mr. Speaker, rather than come in and pay $500 at the end of the year. And you improve your cash flow. You improve your cash flow, Mr. Speaker, and you improve the efficiency in the system. You don't have on a Monday morning, on a month end, either Friday or a Monday, and you want to block a hole, you send police out, everybody going to harass. It is counterproductive. You have the whole traffic under the cliff going towards Roseau, to one out of Roseau. And time is being wasted. Businesses are suffering. And everybody knows what's a police on the road, Mr. Speaker. And we have not found an innovative way of doing it. Well, I'm giving it to you free of charge. Go and implement it. Simple, Mr. Speaker. You have less inefficiencies in the system, Mr. And you are able to increase your cash flow, Mr. Speaker. You understand that as a business person, Mr. Speaker. And you are doing better like that, Mr. Speaker. And you can address issues faster. Likewise, Mr. Speaker, when businesses owe government, you pay interest on it. Government owe you for 20 years, you get the same amount. That is not beneficial to our country, and it doesn't show a responsible a government that is responsible, Mr. Speaker. You have to take into consideration the decreasing value of tax of cash over time. So as the longer you stay, the money don't have the same value, Mr. Speaker. So I am proposing, if you are so responsible and you care about Dominicans, Mr. Speaker, we understand there will be little gaps in the system because the public service, you know, they have a little red tape. So after 2 or 3 months, you will start to increase interest to protect the citizenry, Mr. Speaker. And that is how people develop their country, Mr. Speaker. And that is what I am proposing, Mr. Speaker. And my note to myself there, it is very good, and I want to read it, Mr. Speaker. It doesn't matter whether your comments are to improve the system for all. Once you don't agree with them, they will attack you. Right there. That is what I reminded myself. I say, Clement, some of it may be hard because you're going to say, put it on the fuel because the fuel high already, and they're going to tell you, you're mad. But regardless of that, I will say it, Mr. Speaker, because it is a very good way of getting things done right, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so we look for easier pay options, Mr. Speaker, and let us make sure that we pay our local contractors in a timely manner, because the profits they make, is that why they buy tools? Is that why they invest, they improve their companies to serve us? And we don't have to sit here and have to hear on our side saying our local contractors doing cochonnerie. I heard that, and that bleed my heart because I'm a proud Dominican. Mr. Speaker, before I finish, before my time runs out, because I have another 8 pages there to go, and I don't think they will give me more time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to quickly...
So you have 9 more minutes.
Oh, I have 9 more minutes. Okay, thanks, Mr. Speaker, for guiding me. Mr. Speaker, we have to adapt, and we have to ensure, Mr. Speaker, that, you know, the tough decisions we take, and once we can improve the livelihoods of Dominicans. The issue of air access to Dominica was a critical one. The airport, again, Mr. Speaker, if you notice me, I do not politicize things that are critical to Dominica's development. Because the faster we understand that we on either sides of the aisle supposed to be fighting for the same thing, which is the green flag of Dominica, Mr. Speaker, unless we accept that and we understand that we're going to be doing disservice to our country. We are going to be doing a disservice to our country. So I am saying, Mr. Speaker, and we came here for the VAT value-added tax amendment schedule in 2021, where the VAT was being exempted for MMC for the services of the airport because we wanted to reduce, well, it was my understanding that he wanted to reduce the overall expense of the airport to the state. And I stood up there boldly and supported it. Today I hear in a contract signed with a Chinese company. Does the same thing apply? Because I asked an honorable minister for Roseau Central. You reminded me of that. The honorable member for Roseau Central, you reminded me that at the Public Accounts Committee, we were having a discussion, and she said, you remember you talk about that? I said, yes. Maybe you should have, said that, Mr. Speaker. Right? So maybe you could have just whispered, Mr. Speaker, and just to add it in there, Mr. Speaker, we have the very good concept of romance in nature, for tourism, Mr. Speaker. A very good concept that could generate income, Mr. Speaker. And maybe she could have just said, you know, at that point in time, romance in nature, just say, you remember Clement that talk about that, though he'll come back with that. Mr. Speaker, a small developing state needs to have a very reliable cash crop, Mr. Speaker. It was bananas. We have not heard anything to say about cannabis, Mr. Speaker, which is a booming industry, Mr. Speaker. We have not seen laws to help. Mr. Speaker, you have to catch one maniku or an agouti. You need to have a license. That is for food. You need to have a hunting license, Mr. Speaker. A marijuana tree, anybody can plant a tree, Mr. Speaker. We don't know where, we don't know how, we don't know for what purpose. Mr. Speaker, we just grant our young people, responsible young people, license, Mr. Speaker, monitor the process, and have them producing cannabis-based products, Mr. Speaker, a new industry to build, Mr. Speaker. We need to do those things, Mr. Speaker, and if we're serious about agriculture. Mr. Speaker, I also want to talk about the issue. Mr. Speaker, you're not protecting me now. We need to have an issue, a serious consideration, Mr. Speaker. A serious consideration should be given to the abattoir. Mr. Speaker, in the Hansards on page 234, paragraph 3, the penultimate line, the Honorable Minister Grant, Fidel Grant, said that he has received, I don't want to paraphrase now for him to get in no trouble. On
But
Tuesday,
are you going to quote which Hansard, which year, what month, etc.?
yes, I have it all there. All of it.
And then
Tuesday,
also, what is
25th.
the relevance to it, to the debate? Yes.
Mr. On the abattoir, I
So,
want to talk about,
okay.
Mr. Speaker. On Tuesday, the Prime Minister,
Which Hansard?
Mr. Speaker, that must be a delay tactics now. Mr.
No, it's on the cover.
That must be Mr. Speaker, the Hansards of Tuesday, August 4th, 2020. The Honorable Minister Fidel Grant said, on Tuesday, the Prime Minister offered the abattoir the lease of $1. Mr. Speaker, since the announcement, I have received one international call, one regional call, 2 local calls expressing interest in the abattoir. Zorji Jou ukamete $1 million abattoir la. Today, I know I can speak the whole speech in patois, so don't worry that, Mr. Speaker, I good. Today, you are putting $1 million to fix the abattoir. So you are giving a local a Java sack then. You are giving the local a jump in a bag. Mr. Speaker, the abattoir is a very critical artery to our development, Mr. Speaker. You were not able to do it. As a matter of fact, it was offered at $1 a peppercorn rate. It maybe had more pepper than corn. Mr. Speaker, and up till now, Mr. Speaker, people are struggling, Mr. Speaker, in agriculture. And Mr. Speaker, we need to also consider the issue of feed. Post-COVID, Mr. Speaker, feed has skyrocketed, Mr. Speaker, from over increase of 15%, Mr. Speaker. When that happens, the farmer is going to substitute other things for his animals. The animals are going to suffer, Mr. Speaker. Likewise, the meat quality is going to suffer, Mr. Speaker. Likewise, the consumers are going to suffer, Mr. And likewise, the industry is going to suffer, Mr. Speaker. We need to at least remove the VAT from the feeds. We have the VAT for the chicken, for hatching eggs. We do not produce the feed for it. Take out the VAT on it and let people take care of their life and improve it. That is what you need to do, Mr. Grant. That is what you need to do. And Mr. Speaker, Honorable Grant, Mr. Speaker, to improve. Fertilizer, likewise, have also skyrocketed. $100 per 50-pound bag, Mr. Speaker. Approximately 49% increase. But I don't have time, so I have to hustle. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, for rural areas, Mr. Speaker, like Penville, Mr. Speaker, I was talking to a very good farmer. He is always early. He said, Masle, those days I used to start at the bottom of the garden
2 more
and
minutes.
spread the fertilizer. Now I have to walk at the top of the garden to spread it. So if it rains, what that below will get some, Mr. Speaker. Because things are hard. And you want to run an agricultural industry on that, and the average age of your farmers continue to increase, we need to put more technology into agriculture. Get more. As a matter of fact, I also want Mr. Ian Douglas, Honorable Ian Douglas, to really appreciate Mr. Mahoney John from his constituency, who has been a soul there in teaching agriculture. Last year I saw him, and there was an issue with the grades. There was an issue with the grades, and he was so stressed Because he know the cost of getting tools. I get a 1. How much you get in agriculture? And he was my teacher, Mr. Speaker, and he is the backbone of the North, training young people, Mr. Speaker, in agriculture. And they come to town, you know, I'm honorable, they come to town to help in the schools. Look around for them and you'll see where they're from. Especially
One
from
more minute.
Mr. Speaker, it's sad. But Mr. Speaker, I also just want to touch on one thing. I really wanted to talk about sports. I want to commend Stefan Pascal, the captain of the Windward Islands, under 17 team, Mr. Speaker, who won the tournament. Mr. Speaker, he's one of the bright sparks in our country. Also, General Joseph, Edmund Morancy, and the entire under 19 team, which I'm so proud of. Mr. Speaker, I also want to commend all Dominicans for coming out to the cricket event. It's shameful I have to be racing to really boast about my country. And I have so much things to say. And I heard a lot of things that could not even improve people's life. Get 2 and 3 and 4 hours, Mr. But anyway, Mr. Speaker, I want to comment all the Dominicans. Mr. Speaker, also, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Reginald Ostry and Honorable Ian Douglas. All there are 5 bridges around all you. That doesn't have railing, Mr. Speaker. The Hampstead Bridge fall down. Nothing in the budget for Hampstead Bridge. So come and dive, take a vehicle and dive in the river. That is what we want to promote.
Time up. Time up.
Mr. Speaker, I had so much to say, Mr. Speaker. Well, I just want to say one more thing, one more quote with your permission,
No, time
Mr.
up,
Speaker.
time up.
That don't matter how much we were judged by the color of our skin at one time. Now we judge by the color of our flag. Unless we continue, Mr. Speaker, or we decide to change our direction and remember that whatever we do is for the betterment of Dominicans, Mr. Speaker, and new generations, Mr. Speaker. We're going to be doing that every time, and we're not going to improve our country. Thanks, Mr. Alvin.
Mr. Speaker, on a point of clarification, Mr. Speaker. On a point of clarification, Mr. Speaker, I was really trying to help the young parliamentarians, Mr. Speaker. The QAT funded road rehabilitation from Hatton Garden to Portsmouth is in the budget, Mr. Speaker, is in the estimates. It is in the estimates, Mr. Speaker. Oh.
Yes, the minister have clarified it. We don't want a back and forth. So just take the correction. If it's in the estimate, it's in the estimate. Okay, let's move on. Honorable Roberts, I recognize you on your feet.
Oh, it's on? Mr. Speaker, the privilege is now mine to rise in this honorable house to give my full endorsement of the 2022-2023 budget. Mr. Speaker, before I begin, permit me to take this opportunity to greet my constituents of Grand Fond, Montjean, Rivière-Syrique, Foyal, and Chefem, who I am honored to serve. And I want to thank them for their support, advice, and critiques. For these help keep me focused on why I do what I was placed there to do. And I want to let them know how happy I am that they have chosen this government and me to be the voice of their values. Let me also express my thanks to the Honorable Minister for Finance and his team for crafting such a balanced and inclusive budget under the theme, Rising Above the Challenges, Seeing Beyond the Horizon, Embracing All Opportunities to Deliver Dynamic Dominica. A transformational plan, Mr. Speaker, for moving Dominica forward. A plan so designed to meet the needs of every Dominican. Mr. Speaker, the late Hubert Humphreys, 30th Vice President of the United States of America, stated, and I quote, The moral test of a government is how the government treats those who are at the dawn of life, the children, those in the twilight of life, the elderly, and those in the shadows of life, the sick, the needy, and the handicapped. Mr. Speaker, based on our performance over the years and our desire to accomplish all what is articulated in this budget, I can say, without any fear of contradiction, that this government has no doubt passed the moral test with distinction. As a government, Mr. Speaker, the interest of our people is and always have been at the core of every decision, every measure that we take. And this is why, Mr. Speaker, we always look to the source of all wisdom, our Lord and Savior, to guide us in our decision-making. It is our dependence on Him that allows His blessings and favor to surround us. Hence the reason why we have never wavered on our promises made to our people, regardless of the circumstances that may befall us. Budget 2022-23, Mr. Speaker, is a clear indication that we as a government have never been idle. Over the past year, fueled by the determination, enthusiasm, and competence of our leader, we as a team have remained focused. Mr. Speaker, we have been busy with schools and the education of our students. We have been busy with improving our health services, building the capacity of our farmers and fisherfolk, and busy ensuring that every Dominican has a decent place to live and call home. Mr. Speaker, we have kept in touch with our people. We have heard their concerns, and we have engaged them in discussions, and with the many consultations, we were able to craft a budget that is a reflection of the needs of all our people. This budget represents the citizens of this country. The public service, Mr. Speaker, is the key driver for implementing government's policies and programs and recognizing the important role that it plays in our development agenda. I am very proud to say, without a doubt, that this government has paid significant attention to the public service. Our public officers continue to be a priority, and initiatives to transform the public service have been announced in every budget since the Honorable Prime Minister made that declaration in December of 2019, and in the Dominica Labour Party manifesto, which promised our public officers a better deal. Over the last few years, Mr. Speaker, we have been deliberate, in our efforts to implement several initiatives geared at the transformation of the public service into an institution that is modernized and resilient. In keeping with my government's commitment to restructure the public service, a major review and reclassification of the public service is currently ongoing and is, in fact, nearing completion. The exercise is coordinated by the Ministry of Governance through a consultancy led by the Caribbean Center for Development Administration, CARICAD, and ably supported by a local team headed by the Director of the Public Service Reform and Modernization, together with other teams of public officers who have been trained and exposed to peer-to-peer learning methodologies. In total, Mr. Speaker, 40 public officers have been directly and positively impacted to provide ongoing support in the job analysis, review, and writing, as well as the conduct of a job evaluation and organizational review. Mr. Speaker, the main objective of this exercise, as was already stated, is to undertake a comprehensive analysis of the jobs within the 16 ministries and 5 departments of the public service, the organizational structure of ministries and departments, and to conduct an evaluation of salaries and compensation structure in the Dominica Public Service. Mr. Speaker, the job analysis review is now complete. We have reviewed job descriptions of 269 benchmark positions, which formed the basis for the conduct of a job evaluation exercise. This was undertaken by a team of public officers and the Public Service Union representatives, and supervised by CARICAD. A parallel job evaluation was also conducted by 2 independent consultants. The exercise moves to another major phase, which is the review of the current compensation structure and reclassification of jobs within the public service. Mr. Speaker, as part of this final component of the exercise, a compensation survey is ongoing in selected OECS countries and Barbados. Another component of the review and reclassification exercise, Mr. Speaker, is the organizational structure review, which involves the collection and analysis of relevant information on the strategy, function, and design of the ministries and departments. This is followed by appropriate recommendations to strengthen the organization and improve the process in alignment with the strategy to enhance efficiency and effectiveness and enable overall organizational success. To date, the process is approximately 65% complete. Mr. Speaker, as Minister of the Public Service, I now take the opportunity to publicly thank CARICAD for its continued and steadfast professional expertise extended to the government of Dominica. Mr. Devon Rowe, Executive Director, and the competent team of consultants are acknowledged and applauded for a job well done thus far. I echo special thanks to the chairperson of the reclassification exercise, Honorable Catherine Daniel, and members of the steering committee, the job analysis review team, the job evaluation team, organizational structure and review team, permanent secretaries, heads of departments, supervisors and staff who worked assiduously to ensure a successful conduct of the ORR. We look forward in anticipation to the completion of all phases of this consultancy and the full report and recommendations for consideration of the government. Based on all reports, Mr. Speaker, Dominica leads the way in public service transformation and is likely to set the stage for our sister islands who are still in the process or contemplating transforming their public services. Appointment of public officers. Mr. Speaker, since assuming this office, we have kept the public informed of our progress on the permanent appointment of public officers. We will maintain our commitment to ensuring the security of tenure of public officers. To date, 140 of these appointments were done within the last financial year, to include public and police officers. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage heads of department and permanent secretaries to complete timely performance appraisals to allow for submission of recommendations to the Commission for consideration. And Mr. Speaker, based on the comment made from my colleague on the other side, let me reiterate, as I have said so many times before, public officers must be recommended by their heads of department for appointments. Please convey that message to whoever the person may be. Public buildings. Mr. Speaker, in this progressive budget, government will invest over $27 million in the construction and rehabilitation of public buildings. This includes police stations across the island, rehabilitation of the customs apartment buildings at Longhouse, the agriculture tissue culture facility at 1 Mile, and the fisheries complexes in Roseau and Portsmouth, construction of new schools and rehabilitation of existing school facilities, construction of new health and wellness centers, and the rehabilitation of other government facilities. This significant investment benefits not just the members of the public accessing services, Mr. Speaker, but the full-time users of the facilities who are the public officers by providing them with improved working conditions for the delivery of services. The Northern Administrative Building. Mr. Speaker, like the Honorable Member for the Portsmouth constituency, I too am very excited about the construction of the administrative complex in Portsmouth. As announced by the Honorable Prime Minister in the budget address, this administrative complex, expected to cost $35,591,390, will enable government to decentralize access to public services to the north of the island and provide improved accommodation for public officers and the general public accessing services. It means for the first time, a wide range of government services will be available in one central location in the north, reducing cost and travel time to Roseau to carry out transactions. This complex will allow public officers who work on the field in the north to have comfortable office accommodation. The complex will include offices, training and meeting rooms, event spaces, and will house offices for the Portsmouth Town Council, the parliamentary representative, and the office of the Prime Minister, and the conference room. Mr. Speaker, we have reviewed the draft designs and provided feedback to the developer, so we are now in the final stages of approval. To complement the construction, of course, a new parking lot and a bypass road will be constructed, and we are working with the member for the Portsmouth and Portsmouth Town Council to hold a series of community consultations in August. Health and Wellness Program. Mr. Speaker, current statistics indicate that non-communicable diseases disproportionately affect people in low and middle-income countries. The Honorable Prime Minister himself has expressed concerns regarding the high incidence of NCDs right here in Dominica. Mr. Speaker, in an effort to promote the government's vision of a healthier nation as announced in his budget, and to further achieve our goal to become a more resilient public service, we have launched a new health and wellness program which specifically targets the risk factors of NCDs. The program, which officially begins on August 3rd, that should be next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere there, will include 3 main components: health assessments to determine the public officer's current status regarding his blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, and body mass index; a virtual education session to equip public officers with the knowledge and tools to sustainable maintain lifestyle changes needed to manage and reduce the risk of NCDs; and 3, fitness activities to provide officers with the opportunity to engage in regular exercise and activate their overall inner wellness. Activities which include cardio, aerobics, dance, and walking will be part of the wellness program. Mr. Speaker, this preventive health and wellness program will be beneficial to both the government of Dominica and the public officer. Not only will it improve employees' behavior to achieve better health and to reduce health risks, but by preventing health problems or lowering their incidence among employees, healthcare costs can also be minimized. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, this health and wellness program has the capacity to augment productivity and increase employee retention, providing further support for the correlation between personal health and job satisfaction. Mr. Speaker, we are aware of the fact that the public service ceases to function without healthy public officers. In this regard, we have prioritized the health and wellness of our public officers to ensure that our public service remains healthy, innovative, and resilient. I also wish to challenge the private sector and other organizations to develop similar initiatives for their staff. Future housing. Mr. Speaker, a few weeks ago, government launched its transformative future housing program, targeting first-time homeowners under 45 years old. This new housing initiative will benefit employees in the public and private sector with concessionary financing and a discounted rate on the purchase of modern homes. We have held discussions with the public service unions on this initiative, and we are pleased with the buy-in and support. I would like to encourage public officers who qualify to register their interests. Public Service Management Bill. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to report that the Public Service Management Bill is in its final stages of completion, and after further consultation with the union and public officers, it will be brought to Parliament for enactment. The bill replaces the Public Service Act and seeks to modernize and reform the administration of the public service. Service Delivery Improvement Program. Mr. Speaker, government continues to focus on the improvement of our services to the public. This fiscal year, our focus will be on leveraging technology to improve efficiencies within the public service and increase convenient access to the public in the delivery of services. Under the Digital Transformation Project, we expect to see significant investment in this area. One of the key activities in this new fiscal year is the development of a government e-services portal. This portal, Mr. Speaker, will provide an enhanced experience to citizens and global audiences seeking to conduct service and business transactions in Dominica. In addition to providing digital services, the website will be an advertising medium for marketing and promotional activities of the government and other agencies. Once again, Mr. Speaker, these online services and applications are consistent with both the objectives of the Digital Transformation Project and capacity resilience efforts under our Climate Resilience and Recovery Plan. Adult education. The Adult Education Division forms part of the Ministry's Social and Citizen Empowerment portfolio. Its primary focus is the promotion of functional literacy and numeracy, continuing education, capacity building, and entrepreneurial skills for adult learners in Dominica. Mr. Speaker, adult education has far-reaching socio-economic, political, and cultural benefits that can transcend generations. Its contribution to Goal 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals, quality education, to substantially increase the number of youth and adults with relevant skills, including technical and vocational skills for employment, decent jobs, and entrepreneurship, by 2030 is noteworthy. In this period under review, 2021 to 2022, Mr. Speaker, the division continued its mission to create avenues to equip adults with the knowledge and skills necessary to participate effectively as employees, entrepreneurs, parents, and competent members of society. These programs ensure that adults and youth, both male and female, have the education and skills required in a competitive economy for a better quality of life. In July of 2021, as part of the 8-week summer program, courses were offered in several areas, including plumbing, cake decorating, electrical wiring, basic sewing, acrylic nail application, massage therapy, tiling, and makeup application. A total of 519, 139 males and 380 females participated to begin classes in July. However, due to the onset of the second wave of COVID-19, only 192 participants completed the program. Mr. Speaker, while the division has directed most of its focus on skills training, the provision of academic programs remain equally as important, a permanent fixture of the division since the 1970s. A major goal of adult education is to improve literacy rates, thus enabling adults to reach their full potential and successfully adapt to an ever-changing world. Literacy programs were offered to nationals and non-nationals alike who were desirous to improve their language skills or gain core skills needed to obtain a high school level education which aligns with their future goals. This year, courses included basic literacy, English as a second language, CSEC mathematics, English, principle of business, human and social biology, and social studies. Mr. Speaker, in February 2021, the Skills for Youth Employment in the Caribbean, SKY, a program promoting needs-based technical and vocational education and training and youth employment in Dominica, with grants available by DFID, was initiated. The target of the program is to deliver certified technical vocational education and training, TVET, to 350 young people between the ages of 15 to 30 to improve their employability in sectors where there is evident demand for skilled workers, such as hospitality and construction and emerging labor markets. Mr. Speaker, the Adult Education Division, after many setbacks and challenges, began the first phase of the SKY training sessions from February 2021 to June 2022, and can boast of its successes, not only in the number of participants trained, but in the overall improvement in delivery. To date, 259 persons have benefited from the SKY program. Courses included hairdressing, plumbing, masonry, garment production, personal computer repair, commercial food preparation, electrical installation, data operations, carpentry, acrylic nail application, and customer service. The final phase of the SKY program will commence in August with a targeted number of 100 participants. The Adult Education Division continues to offer great ways to achieve viable career paths by providing classes that cater to individual needs and daily routines. This strategy produces better results and increases the employability of its participants. Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to inform the public that registration is now open for the upcoming SKY program in August for persons between the ages of 15 to 30 years and the Academic and Skills Program in September for all persons above 16. Parenting classes and outreach programs are also scheduled for the upcoming school year. Very good, very good. In September, Mr. Speaker, we will host a series of activities in celebration of Adult Education Month. The Ministry of Governance is also tasked with the responsibility of facilitating the public in issuing marriage licenses. To date, we have issued 143 licenses to locals and foreigners alike between the month of January to June. If there is anybody in this room who wishes to tie the knot, please contact my ministry. I will gladly sign off for you. Let me take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker. I just didn't want to call your name. Let me take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to acknowledge, oh Jesus Christ, the head of the public service, Ms. Karen Prevost, our Chief Personal Officer, Ms. Edith Thomas Roberts, our former CPO, Ms. Barbara Daly, permanent secretaries, and all public officers who are supporting us in this journey to build dynamic Dominica. A special thank you to the staff at the Ministry of Governance, the Director of Public Service Reform, Ms. Cecilia Carr, the Chairperson of the Reclassification Exercise, Ms. Honorable Catherine Daniel, and our Adult Education Unit staff, Ms. Nadia Pinard, and staff at the Adult Education Unit. Mr. Speaker, all these have helped to make the ministry successful in its efforts. The Monjon Rivière-Surick constituency. The 2022-2023 budget, Mr. Speaker, is replete with initiatives that will create the enabling environment which ensures that the people of our country can live happy, healthy, and financially independent lives. The Monjon Rivière-Surick constituency is no exception. Housing. Housing continues to be a challenge, but we have made the promise to our people as a government, Mr. Speaker, that we will not relent until everyone has a safe and secure place that we can call home. With that being said, I want to reassure Priscilla Layton, Coralie Lawrence, Rachel John Baptist, and Clementina Abraham that we will complete their homes in the soonest possible time following the passing of this budget. I am also fully aware, Mr. Speaker, of the other constituents who sit patiently waiting for houses to be constructed for them under the Housing Development Program. This budget makes allowances for an additional 700 homes, so I can only ask that they be patient. We will serve you. I want to applaud those of you who have not only shown interest in the 40 and under 10,000 grant housing initiative, but have also qualified, and they have already begun reaping the benefits of this program. Mr. Speaker, commendations go out also to my constituents who have demonstrated a keen interest in the Future Housing Project, which was launched recently. I appeal to them to embrace this opportunity as we work towards assisting you into owning your own home. Water resource management. The new water intake for Grandford, as announced in this budget under the DFID project, will certainly bring improvements to our water supply, water storage system, water quality and reliability, not only for Grand Fond, Mr. Speaker, but for the communities of Mont John and Rivière Syrique, who constantly suffer from water shortages. We will continue working with the WASCO to ensure the realization of this project in this coming year. I want to again thank Mr. Elwin Ostry, our caretaker for water supply, for his hard work in spite of the challenges that he has to go through. At this time, Mr. Speaker, I also need to applaud the Minister of the Public Works, who is ever so gracious in trying to get things done. No, Mr. Speaker. I have been complaining about the St. Kitts Bridge. And I approached the Minister for the Public Works. And he told me that he was going to come up with me to take a look at it. And Mr. Speaker, it did not take 2 weeks. Materials got to that bridge. A contractor was found. And this bridge now can accommodate all vehicles, every single one. And they even added a pedestrian section. I mean, Kasani, sorry. Honorable Laville is just a darling. And I want to say that publicly. No, a truly worthwhile investment, honestly. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I have another darling in cabinet as well. But, well, Kasani, you were first, so you should not feel bad. I called you first. Mr. Speaker, the Grand Fond community must have celebrated on Monday upon hearing of the new state-of-the-art health center coming to the community. I want them to know that good things rarely comes to those who wait. I cannot allow you to distract me, honey. Oh, no. No. I had stopped before because I was going to face Dr. Matt. Patrice, sorry. Do not try that. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister of Health has assured us that we will be in Grand Fond shortly, following this debate, to present the design and final details to the constituency. And I would advise that we should already start brainstorming for the naming of the health center, which we would need upon commissioning. Dr. Mac, that's true, right? Yes, we have to get a name for that. Good. Micro, small, and medium enterprises. $5 million, Mr. Speaker, is being allocated to micro, small, and medium enterprises to assist our small business entrepreneurs. Let me commend my constituents who have completed the training sessions organized by the ministry. Honorable Charles, I applaud your efforts. My constituents were very happy. They boasted of the programs. They said it was well done. And then I want to just thank you for all your efforts in trying to ensure that our small business entrepreneurs got a little funding to assist them. I would advise them to take every opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to hone their skills as entrepreneurs and make the best use of the funding available to improve their businesses. Streetlights again, back to Honorable Laville. We have begun the preparation for the installation of streetlights, something that is much needed in the community, and I want to commend you for that. And we will continue this year to place them in the areas designated as right. Thank you. So, Timam, I know you have been troubling me about a street light unit right in front of your house because it's very dark and it scares you at night. Yes, so Timam, you listening because you told me you were going to listen to hear if I'll talk about street lights. So I have said it, you can smile, and it's time you can go to bed now. Case closed. Agriculture. Mr. Speaker, I know the farmers too are listening, keenly, glued to their TV screens or their radios. And I want to let them know that this is really a farmer's budget. Agriculture remains a priority for this government. Budget 2023 will see a $1 million investment to encourage our young people to engage in agriculture. I had a meeting with the young men sometime last week, and they were asking me how can they get land because they want to start. They realize agriculture is getting to somewhere now, and they want to be part of it. So I want to tell all those with the passion to farm or expand their current farms that they will receive the grants as part of a startup capital. And in addition, the government has already arranged to put a structure in place where vacant agricultural lands can be provided on a lease or sale basis to encourage them to get back into production. I'm especially grateful too for the $3.8 million investment made in the restructuring of the abattoir, Honorable Rivera, to increase capacity. I know the importance of this investment, especially for my poultry and livestock farmers in the area. John T. and company, yes. Another $1 million has been made available, Mr. Speaker, for large banana farmers. The Prime Minister spoke of Mr. Shillingford, and Mr. John Hope also works as well. Both of them are very large banana farms. And I want them to know that we have made that investment available for them. And an additional $5 million to Dexia, because my farmers have always been complaining that they don't get their money on time. But I want them to know this time, a structure has been put in place for the quick processing of payments to farmers. According to the minister, Mr. Speaker, payments will be ready 1 week following purchasing. So, we will continue with our seedling distribution, from which most of the farmers have benefited, and the $13 million investment facility at 1 Mile will see the introduction of new propagation techniques that will increase the availability of seedlings to all our farmers, including the organic farmers. Let me take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to thank the government for the provision of fertilizers that were donated to the farmers. I also wish to commend, I say it to all you. Well, yes. I also wish to commend the Chinese Agricultural Mission at 1 Mile in Portsmouth for their technical assistance, the seedlings and seeds that they have given to our backyard farmers. It is their intention to begin work soon on our school garden so our students can learn to grow what they eat. And they have also agreed, Mr. Speaker, to establish a nursery right there at the school compound that will serve as a center for seedling availability to those who need. I need to thank Mr. Johnson Drygo, who comes in for high commendations at this time for assisting me in spearheading these efforts. Education. Mr. Speaker, the education of our people remains a top priority for this government. And with education receiving the second largest allocation this financial year, I want to remind my constituents that our government will continue meeting the needs of our students in providing scholarships, textbook and uniform allowance, transportation, and of course, our school feeding program. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the government and the Caribbean Development Bank for the $1.3 million investment towards the refurbishment of the Monjon Primary School. Our teachers are happy, our students are happy, parents are happy, and with this conducive environment that we now have, our goal is to ensure that teaching and learning will be enhanced to meet the needs of every learner entrusted in their care. Let me at this time congratulate the 12 students who will be moving on to secondary school this year, and in a special way to highlight the outstanding performance of young Michael Lawrence of Monjon, who obtained a scholarship at this year's National Assessment Tests. I also wish to congratulate also Marisa and Maurice Joseph, they are twins, and Jude John Baptist, who graduated from the Cassibus Secondary School, and Keanu Samuel from the State College. I wish them well as they continue in furthering their education. I encourage all our students to make the best use of the opportunities that are available to them. Let me thank the school principals and teachers who have persevered throughout the school year in spite of all challenges. Mr. Speaker, this budget also brings great benefit to our bus drivers, the bus and truck drivers. We are aware that they have been challenged from the fuel prices, and today I would like to inform them that this government will grant a 50% reduction in motor vehicle licenses. Yeah, we need to give a clap for that. I mean, this is a big thing. For 1 year, effective August 1st. And we will also discontinue the highway levy for 1 year as well. So I'm calling on Kwame and Joaquim, Laisha, and all the other bus drivers in Grand Forks. We understand your plight. You can smile now because we have reduced some of your fees and given you additional pocket money. Mr. Speaker, I know of no other government who loves its people so much as this Dominican Labour Party government. Everything in this budget should bring joy to people. It's almost like Christmas in July. And Dominicans should be proud of their government. Regardless as to what is happening, the government is working and working well. Mr. Speaker, as I said at the beginning, we give everything to the Lord in prayer. And as we all know, when prayers go up, blessings come down. So we give thanks always. Before I close on my constituency, let me express thanks to all my NEP interns and supervisors who work tirelessly at keeping the constituency clean and beautiful. Let me single out the brigade, a group of young men who go above and beyond the call of duty to tackle odd jobs in the community, all employed under the National Employment Program. I wish to single out Carlos Williams, Edwina, Joalyn, John Hope, Juanita Lawrence, Teresa Dangaben, Joan Suzeb, and Joan Lawrence, and the Yes We Care caretakers, all of whom helped to carry my load in the constituency. I thank all principals, my advisory team, the Events Management Committee, my office staff, Village Council, and all those who work with me and for me to ensure a safe, secure, happy, and peaceful community. I thank you.
Honorable King, Honorable King, I recognize you,
Thank
so you can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it takes strength for me to present here tonight. But with such a great budget, I cannot help but stand tonight. And yes, thank you for the support, my neighbor in Palrep, Honorable Hector John. Thank you. Before I commence, please permit me to extend my condolences to our former parliamentary representative of the St. Joseph constituency, Mrs. Doreen Shillingford. She was Doreen Paul at the time when she served, for the death of her father, Mr. Isaac James, who departed this world on Friday. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise to offer my solidarity and unwavering endorsement to this budget as presented by the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance.
You're going to ask to refer to your notes. I see we are not doing this, but you should ask to refer to the notes.
Mr. Speaker, I ask you kindly to refer to my notes.
Permission granted.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, as I said before, I rise to offer my solidarity and unwavering endorsement to this 2022-2023 budget as presented by the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. I am thanking the Almighty God for his mercies has kept us, and for this we must be grateful. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, I am reminded of Lamentations chapter 3, verse 22 to 23, and I quote, "If it is of the Lord's mercies, it is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness." End of quote. God has truly been faithful to us, and we have come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord because he has never failed us. We, as a nation, have operated in the most challenging times, and I must admit that the past years have presented us with unusual circumstances through which we have navigated thanks to the unfailing love of God. Though the global economy has been severely affected, he has set us on a path of recovery, on a path of prosperity, and for that we must say, thank you, God. This budget, Mr. Speaker, is testament to our ability as a government to manage in times of adversity successfully and confidently. This budget is testament to the fact that this Labour Party administration continues to ensure that our plans, our programs, our policies are people-centered. This year's budget sees the continuation of several measures which have proven to be very beneficial to our citizens, as well as new measures aimed at improving the daily lives of every Dominican. I am especially pleased about the continuation of the $10,000 grant made available to young people under the age of 40 who are building or buying their first home or registering their first piece of land. This grant, established over the last 2 years by the Honorable Minister of Finance, has been of tremendous assistance to our youth who are in the process of constructing or purchasing their first-time homes, registering or transferring property, or just requiring an extra push towards payment of labor and services related to the completion of their new home. The applicants come from both the public and the private sectors and from communities all over Dominica. Thus far, Mr. Speaker, a total of 200 young people have been approved, with 52% being female and 48% male. This includes 20 beneficiaries from the Kalinago territory, our indigenous people. The interest in this program is very high among our young people, with quite a number of them reaching out to me to find out if it will continue, since they are either waiting for planning approval and or a mortgage approval so they can apply. Mr. Speaker, as a caring government, we have listened to our youth And this is why in this financial year, $1.5 million has been allocated to this program. And Mr. Speaker, what makes this even more exciting for the young people of our great nation is the fact that the reduction of land fees by 50%, which was introduced in November 2020, will become permanent effective November 2022. This measure will continue to bring much needed relief to our citizens who own land but are unable to fully finance the fees associated with the registration of these lands. Both measures put together have given families the opportunity to formalize the transfer of land to their children under the age of 41. Mr. Speaker, we are advancing the housing agenda even further this year, with our young professionals being the beneficiaries. I speak here of the recently launched Future Housing Program targeted at citizens aged 45 and under. Mr. Speaker, this is yet another innovative program developed as a result of this government listening to our young people, this government listening to our young professionals who have a dream of owning their home. The opportunity to purchase homes below cost price is a dream come true for any young professional with a desire to own their home. The Future Housing Program will not only add to this Labour Party government thrust to house the people of our nation by building resilient houses, but it will also give our young families the ability to create wealth for generations to come. I urge all citizens 45 years and under to express their interest online and take advantage of this opportunity designed to transform their lives and that of their children. I must say though, since the launch of this Future Housing Program, I have been receiving calls from Dominicans living here and abroad requesting more information on this initiative. The level of interest is tremendous, really. Mr. Speaker, housing is just part of the many initiatives that we as a government have embarked upon with the objective of empowering our young people. We continue to place focus on the youth as we are cognizant of the very important role that they can and they will play in building dynamic Dominica. I know that the young people are excited about the many initiatives that will surely benefit them directly. On the part of the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment, we continue to provide technical, vocational, social, and related skills in training our youth at our various youth centers. Mr. Speaker, as most of us are well aware, during the passage of Hurricane Maria, a number of our youth centers suffered significantly and some were totally destroyed. As a result, renovation and rehabilitation of these centers have been ongoing. Work on the entire rehabilitation of the Cassibus and Granbury Enterprise and youth centers are completed, and rehabilitation of the Rosa Youth Center is nearing completion. Mr. Speaker, in the near future, we will have the commissioning of the main facility of the new Marigot Youth Center, which we are also able to complete in the last, financial year with a grant from the Maria Holder Memorial Trust of over $2 million. I want to express my gratitude to the Trust for the significant contribution to the development of our youth. During this financial year, we will see the commencement of work on the reconstruction of the Delices Youth Center. Mr. Speaker, this government is always happy to celebrate the achievements of our youth. During the last financial year, 57 young people graduated from computer literacy in Roseau, Wesley, Portsmouth, and electrical wiring at Granby under the Youth Skills Training Program. 72 young people successfully completed training in the following modules under the Youth Skills Training Program and are awaiting certification. This includes computer literacy in Roseau, Wesley, Portsmouth, and Layu, auto body mechanic in Grand Bay, hospitality arts in Portsmouth, building maintenance in Roseau, stonewall construction in Layu, construction apprenticeship in Marigot. As we speak, Mr. Speaker, 129 young people are currently undergoing training in the following modules: building maintenance in the Dominica State Prison, electrical installation in Layu, hospitality arts in Cassibruce, and computer literacy in Layu, Portsmouth, Roseau, and Wesley. Yet they say nothing for the youth. Mr. Speaker, youth skills training programs during the reporting period were conducted under the Youth Skills for Economic Growth project in collaboration with Skills for Youth Employment in the Caribbean, funded by the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office of the United Kingdom. Mr. Speaker, the Youth Development Division also provides leadership development skills to enhance and increase youth participation and governance capabilities. During this period, training was provided to 71 active youth groups around Dominica, 13 environmental clubs, 54 junior 4-H clubs, and 9 senior 4-H clubs. This financial year, the youth skills training will continue focusing on providing opportunities for the youth in areas where a gap exists for trained workers based on community assessments. Mr. Speaker, in addition to these training opportunities for the Youth Development Division, my ministry through the Dominica Youth Business Trust continues to provide both technical and financial support to young entrepreneurs in Dominica to assist them in the identification, development, and implementation of their enterprises in an effort to create employment for themselves and for other young individuals. During the fiscal year, loans were approved and guaranteed by DYBT. Loans were paid off. 20 young people, of which 11 female, 9 males, completed training under the Small Business Assistant Facility. 23 completed training under the Entrepreneurship Development Program. 41 from the Western District participated in the DYPT Community Outreach Training Program. 23 from the Northeast District and 28 from the Southeast participated in the DYBT Community Outreach Training Program. Mr. Speaker, 5 entrepreneurs participated in the Social Enterprise Incubator, and 1 topped the OECS Islands Ideas Challenge. I say congratulations. As a result of our program, Junella Trotman won the Regional Mentors Award. Mr. Speaker, 217 business advice were administered to our young entrepreneurs, and 17 business plans were reviewed for them. In January of this year, DYBT hosted its 17th graduation and award ceremony. 103 entrepreneurs graduated from the various programs offered by DYPT, whilst 11 participants were awarded, yet they say nothing for the youth. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the young entrepreneurs seeking services at the DYBT, I wish to express my profound gratitude to the Honorable Minister for Finance, Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, for the addition of $1 million in the budget towards strengthening the trust. I say thank you. Mr. Speaker, I have been given the responsibility of the most vulnerable in our society, and I must say that it is an enormous responsibility which I do not take lightly. Ensuring the well-being of all our citizens continue to be the main priority of this administration. That is why we have ensured that all our social protection programs continue, and in some cases, we have expanded them to reach the most vulnerable amongst us. This government continues to maintain over 30 social protection programs in this country, reaching every sector of every community. Mr. Speaker, the Social Welfare Division continues to discharge its responsibilities to families and institutions and fulfill its mandate by collaborating with our partners and the general public. For the just concluded financial year, an amount of $7,156,000 was approved for the monthly public assistance cash allowance to individuals and families who qualify for this assistance based on set criteria. Presently, there are over 1,900 recipients receiving a monthly cash allowance under this program. During this last financial year, working with one of our partners, and I thank them very much, the World Food Program, an amount of $2,311,000 was paid out as a top-up to the beneficiaries of the public assistance program. In addition, 6,367 non-public assistance program beneficiaries who met the criteria set for this assistance during the pandemic received an amount of $450 monthly for a period of 3 months. This financial year, we will continue to review our public list as we empower beneficiaries and graduate them from the public assistance. Mr. Speaker, this government is concerned about the welfare and well-being of our juveniles. Our probation program at the Social Welfare Department aims to deter further criminal behaviors, make offenders take responsibility for their actions, make amends, provide opportunities for rehabilitation and positive reintegration into the society. During the last financial year, $266,950 was approved for the skills training for post-charge diversion. My ministry partnered with the Social Center for the implementation of that program. In this program, juveniles are exposed to skills training, counseling, and social skills as a means of sentencing alternative ordered by the Honorable Court for Juveniles aged 12 and 18 years who have been found guilty of committing a criminal act. And Mr. Speaker, note I said the Honorable Court for Juveniles. I listened earlier to a member on the other side, I don't remember who, but they tend to think that there's no family court. And I'm like, but are we truly in Dominica? Anyway, to God be the glory. Mr. Speaker, the Social Welfare Division is also responsible for the preparation of social inquiry reports as requested by the courts of law in Dominica and for every juvenile prior to sentencing. 31 reports were submitted during the financial year. Mr. Speaker, the protection of all our children in Dominica must be the responsibility of every Dominican. And I mean every Dominican, every family member, every neighbor, every religious leader, every health worker, every teacher, every police officer, every officer of the law, and of course, every community leaders, including politicians. The increased reports of child abuse, and note I said reports, the increased number of reported cases of child abuse, child neglect, and abandonment is of growing concern to all of us here on this side of the house. The fact is, prevention is always better than cure. During the year under review, there were 111 reported cases of child abuse. One case, Mr. Speaker, is too many. The truth be told, families, the community, and the society in general must be prepared to play our part to eradicate this menace of child sexual abuse and other forms of abuse in our society. Sadly, these cases are only reported to the Social Welfare Division after the offense has occurred. Mr. Speaker, my ministry has begun a series of meetings with groups and organizations who are willing to collaborate with us on this mission as we continue to educate and bring awareness to every community in Dominica on this matter. The ministry, via the Social Welfare Division, has launched a parenting education program which focuses on enhancing parenting practices and behaviors, such as developing and practicing positive discipline techniques, promoting fatherhood, promoting positive interaction between parents and children, and contributing to the elimination of child abuse and domestic violence in families. These sessions are being held at community level, all in an effort to ensure that all parents, both mothers and fathers, can attend these important trainings. On the matter of legislation, Dominica will soon have a suite of new laws related to the family. I would like to refer to the Child Care and Adoption Bill, a critical piece of legislation. When this becomes law, Dominica will have in place very innovative changes in the way matters related to the care and protection of our children will be dealt with. The courts will have far more options than exist now in regards to orders which would be made in child care and protection proceedings. Importantly, reporting of child abuse cases by selected practitioners to include parents and guardians, among others, will be mandated in law. Mr. Speaker, we are also working with our partners, the International Organization for Migration, IOM, to implement programs in various communities, all aimed at sensitizing the general public on child protection. In this financial year, an amount of US $300,000 will be made available in that regard. Work is ongoing, and it is important that we remain committed to the protection of every Dominican child. Mr. Speaker, my ministry is also working with Israel to build awareness on matters pertaining to the welfare and well-being of all our children with disabilities. As we say, disability is not inability. And so during this financial year, we will see much activity focusing on awareness building for our children with disabilities. Mr. Speaker, the Social Welfare Division also works with matters pertaining to adoptions, migrant children, and their families. During the past year, linkages were forged with overseas partner agencies in Tortola, Canada, Guadeloupe, Martinique, St. Thomas, France, and Antigua, and numerous matters were dealt with. We pledge to continue working with these agencies in order to assist our migrant populations and maintain links with the adopted children and their families. After much consultations and review, Mr. Speaker, after much consultations and review, and as part of the restructuring of the public service, we will soon see a new structure for the social services, which is aimed at creating a more modern and functional department with the critical units needed to optimize the protection of all our citizens, especially our children. Mr. Speaker, Chances is government's residential child care facility for children and young people from birth to 18 years who are in need of care and must be removed from their homes due to the level of neglect or abuse. At present, 33 residents are housed at that institution. Care and protection has been the primary reason for placement. There are 21 girls and 12 boys. Mr. Speaker, in foster care program of the division, there are 57 foster family homes with a total of 67 children. Our foster parents must be applauded for opening their homes to their children who are in need of care and protection. Government continues to provide a monthly stipend towards the educational and health needs of these children. Mr. Speaker, our Prime Minister loves the elderly. That's why government continues to provide financial support to 6 elderly homes which provide care for our citizens, our senior citizens in their twilight years. At government's primary institution, which is the Dominica Infirmary, 39 reports were submitted for admission this year. In addition to the Dominica Infirmary, an annual subvention is paid to the Grotto, Maho Senior Citizens Home, Salisbury Home for the Homeless, Portsmouth Home for the Aged, and House of Hope. In addition, the Yes We Care program continues to benefit many of our elderly in the area of personal home care, inclusive of, but not limited to, cleaning of their homes, washing their clothes, washing their dishes, purchasing and administration of medication, as well as provision of a monthly care package. The objective is to ensure that each and every vulnerable elderly within this country receives top-notch quality care and service. Mr. Speaker, it pained me, it really pained me when the Honorable Senator of Cassie Bruce, Honorable John Finn, would stand in this honorable house and say that there are people in Cassie Bruce, elderly people in Cassie Bruce, needing assistance from Yes We Care, and it is not being given. Ela Magwesa. Mr. Mr. Speaker, we in this government, after all, Mr. Speaker, we in this government do not put party politics when it comes to the elderly. We do not put party politics when it comes to health. Mr. Speaker, the people on the other side would have known one of the former candidates was sent overseas for medical care, and he's still against the government. Mr. Speaker, on a daily basis, requests for Yes We Care comes to the ministry. Mr. Speaker, the process is so simple and transparent. If the Honorable Senator John Finn has anybody who needs care, she should report it to the Yes We Care department. Simple as that. Or you can call the PAL rep. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member, my neighbor from Salisbury, knows that. He knows that when it comes to those things, politics is not involved. Mr. Speaker, the supervisor of the Yes We Care program goes to the home of the elderly. They make the assessment and the recommendation, and the ministry upholds the recommendation. There is no politics. So if we have elderly patients, elderly people that the Honorable Rep of Cassie Bruce is not aware of, and Honorable John Finn knows that, and she have them seeing me there. Sorry, you have them seeing I'm being in misery. She should report it to the Yes We Care department. We are open for everybody. Mr. Speaker, currently we have 152 clients under the Yes We Care program. During this financial year, the ministry, with grant funding from the UNDP, provided a series of training sessions for all our supervisors and our caretakers. We even included the caregivers under the National Employment Program because we want the best for our elderly. The sessions will get towards equipping the caregivers with the requisite skills needed to assist clients diagnosed with several different health conditions such as dementia, high blood pressure, diabetes, as well as best practices in taking care of our bedridden clients. Mr. Speaker, we recognize that it is vital that each supervisor and every caregiver is updated with the various caregiving techniques and health conditions knowledge of health conditions, because of their responsibilities and roles as caregivers and supervisors. Mr. Speaker, our sessions were conducted by qualified nurse practitioners and other professionals in various topics. Topics such as basic first aid, geriatrics, basic feeding and nutrition, basic massaging, disaster management, basic counseling post-disaster, as well as information sharing on the NRDS and CRRP targets. Mr. Speaker, this Labour Party government kept our promise for the establishment of the National Commission on Persons with Disabilities. And I am pleased to say that the commission was inaugurated in March of 2022, and they are meeting regularly to discuss matters pertaining to the welfare of all Dominicans with disabilities. I am certain soon that the commission will be making recommendations to this government in this regard. During the last financial year, government, through the Basic Needs Trust Fund, spent $833,000 to fully rehabilitate the structure housed in the Dominica Association of Persons with Disabilities. This facility is fully accessible to all persons with disabilities and equipped with a training area and a patio for outdoor activity. Israel has also partnered with the ministry to provide training in emergency preparedness to institutions housing persons with disabilities and community leaders who work and live with persons with disabilities. Disaster resilience is a key element of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The Sustainable Development Goals are based on the premise of reaching absolutely everyone. In times of emergency, the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica is committed to protecting the most vulnerable people and leave no one behind. Mr. Speaker, gender equality is critical to achieving a wide range of objectives pertaining to sustainable development, economic empowerment, poverty reduction, social protection, and several of the other sustainable development goals. Over the past financial year, the Bureau of Gender Affairs continued its routine activities, which include radio programs, community outreach, and ongoing gender mainstreaming, among other initiatives to attain gender equality and equity. One of the key achievements of the Bureau, which I would like to highlight today, is the scaled-up support for survivors of domestic violence here in Dominica during the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Speaker, I spoke both nationally and regionally about the possible increase of gender-based violence due to the consequences of COVID-19 lockdowns and guidelines. Via the Bureau of Gender Affairs, we have successfully and effectively provided support for survivors of domestic violence during a period where regional research and evidence clearly indicated that women and girls were being disproportionately affected economically with a significant increase in gender-based violence. More specifically, Mr. Speaker, via the Bureau of Gender Affairs, my ministry established a pilot safe housing program for survivors of domestic violence, which provided rental support for survivors for a maximum of 3 months and for a minimum of 3 months, and a maximum of 6 months. This is a vital intervention for women fleeing, requiring to flee immediately from danger and domestic violence. This provides survivors, most which were young children, a place of refuge while they are empowered to break the cycle of violence. During this last financial year, 7 families, including 16 females, 7 males, benefited from this ongoing program. Mr. Speaker, I do hope by strengthening the support systems that we can encourage our survivors to come forward and not continue to suffer in silence. Mr. Speaker, the increase of staff at the Bureau of Gender Affairs to support clients and respond to incidences of domestic violence has shown increased access to support and fulfillment of short-term and immediate needs of survivors. This has facilitated the rebranding of the Bureau of Gender Affairs as an institution for the provision of tangible support to survivors, hereby increasing the reporting and improving public trust in our service providers. Mr. Speaker, strengthened support services have been proven to not only protect survivors and their children from further harm, but promote their long-term social and emotional well-being. During this last financial year, my ministry was successful in attracting financing for our from our partner organizations to continue the implementation of various gender-responsive projects. Permit me to highlight 2 of these projects. Our first project, enabling a gender-responsive disaster recovery climate and environmental resilience in the Caribbean. This under the Engender project funded by the Government of Canada and UK Aid and implemented by UNDP. US $300,000 has been reserved for Dominica to implement climate-resilient, gender-responsive initiatives. This project was launched in May 2022, and work has begun towards the following deliverables. Number 1, strengthening the national framework for the collection of sex and age disaggregated data and the re-establishment of the gender-based violence data registry. The retrofitting of the Bells Catholic Church and the Caleb Laura Primary School to support gender-responsive disaster risk management planning. Strengthening livelihoods through provision of equipment and tools to women and men in various sectors. Some of the women who will benefit are the titiwi farmers, the titiwi fishers, in Layu, and some of the fisher folks in Soufriere. We'll also be updating and finalizing our national gender policy under this project. Our second project is strengthening gender mainstreaming capacity for climate resilience Dominica. US $17,000 is being donated by the UK and UNDP Flexi Technical Assistance Fund, which promotes climate resilience, recovery, and development in Dominica and supports the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica's vision to become the world's first climate resilient nation. This project will strengthen gender mainstreaming through the overarching government's climate resilience policy. To date, the project is 90% complete, and the output thus far is a gender mainstreaming toolkit that will support government officers in overseeing the integration of gender equality into the operation of each ministry. We will also see technical training in collaboration with the Ministry of Blue and Green Economy, Agriculture and National Food Security to support women farmers in implementing climate-smart approaches in their farming practices. Together, this project will towards our main goal, a gender-responsive, climate-resilient Dominica, where women, men, boys, girls, persons with disabilities, our youth, our indigenous people, and older persons, among others, can live to their fullest potential. Mr. Speaker, it will be remiss of me not to mention the impact of our national gender-responsive initiatives and programming the impact that it's having regionally and internationally. Dominica is increasingly being recognized regionally and internationally for its significant work in gender equality and equity. This has resulted in significant benefits, including strengthened collaboration with regional and international organizations, which improves resource mobilization efforts and showcases the achievements of our government as it pertains to gender equality and equity. Mr. Speaker, in March of 2022, I was able to make an in-person statement at the Commission on the Status of Women, which highlighted Dominica's progress towards gender-responsive, climate-resilient Dominica. The participation at this function resulted in strengthened collaboration with several regional and international entities. One of these regional entities is the CARICOM Gender Unit, which will be providing us with technical support in August 2022 to improve our programming. Mr. Speaker, last year I promised that my ministry via the Bureau of Gender Affairs will work to mainstream gender across key sectors to promote gender equality and equity and to develop and implement special projects across gender-based violence, poverty, inclusivity, social protection, wealth creation, and redistribution and climate change, among others. I am pleased to say that our programming was directly aligned with these objectives. In this upcoming year, our main priorities will be to scale up awareness-raising activities to increase understanding of gender-based violence and its consequences, to facilitate changing entrenched views, attitudes, and behaviors that perpetuate or condone the various forms of gender-based violence. Funding for this program has been approved by UN Women. The project, Behavioral Change and Communication Strategy, will be implemented soon. We will continue to work to provide the best quality service to survivors who come forward, and we will strengthen our national policy framework to incorporate gender issues, which the Engender project will support through the components I mentioned earlier. Mr. Speaker, during this financial year, we will also expect to receive approved funding from the Build Back Equal project for UN Women to further enhance our work in the promotion of gender equality and equity and to implement special projects with a focus on gender and climate change related objectives. I wish to recommit myself to doing the best I can as Minister responsible for gender affairs to support ongoing efforts towards the realization of SDG 5, which reads, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls while paying special attention to the role that men and boys play in achieving gender equality. Mr. Speaker, I wish to commend the Permanent Secretary in my ministry, Mrs. Silvani Burton, for her steadfast leadership in the ministry. I also want to commend all my heads of department, especially my head of department at the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Ms. Melissa Morgan. I want to commend all my other head of departments, as well as my head of department, the coordinator of the DYBT, Senator Philip Roll. He's doing a super job. I want to congratulate him. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to thank the staff at the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment, Youth at Risk, Gender Affairs, Senior Security, and Dominicans with Disability. But Mr. Speaker, the reason I am here today in this honorable house is because the people of the St. Joseph constituency has placed their faith in me. Mr. Speaker, there are so many exciting new measures in the budget which has gotten the attention of the entire nation because they are measures targeted to improve the quality of life and well-being of every Dominican, directly or indirectly. I myself, I am extremely excited because there are so many projects and policies that will directly impact the lives of the people of the St. Joseph constituency. Please permit me to take the opportunity to thank all the people of my constituency for their unwavering love and support, for which I am eternally grateful. I assure them that I will remain committed to be their servant, and that is my purpose in this house. Mr. Speaker, my people within the St. Joseph constituency continue to benefit from many policies and programs of this Labour Party administration. I speak about uniforms, school uniforms, textbooks, transportation, electronic devices, free tuition to attend the Dominica State College, scholarships and financial assistance to facilitate their attendance at universities. I also wish to say thank you for the employment opportunities for my people within several government departments and under the National Employment Program. They continue to benefit from public assistance to support their vulnerable families, individuals, and persons with disabilities. They benefit from the care of the elderly with monthly care packages for our clients of the Yes We Care, and as well as our clients under the NEP program. Mr. Speaker, our youth skills training opportunities continue to benefit the people within my community. Our training under the adult education programs, our free primary health care services, small business training and assistance, work online Dominica. Mr. Speaker, the list goes on, but it is late, so let me move forward. Mr. Speaker, housing. Presently, we have a couple of houses nearing completion, and we have assisted several constituents in the completion of their homes. The repairs of houses continue throughout the constituency. This financial year, the construction of new houses will continue in all communities within the constituency, and it will be significant. Emphasis will be placed on housing the most vulnerable families and individuals. Resilient houses and small apartment complexes will be built in Mero, Layu, Bells, and within the community of St. Joseph. We will also see in the second phase of the Future Housing Program a new modern community at the Hillsborough Gardens. Mr. Speaker, the young professionals of the constituency are very excited about this new and innovative initiative and cannot wait to see it become a reality as they too anticipate the transformation of their lives when this housing program will be implemented. Mr. Speaker, I am extremely excited about the numerous health and wellness centers constructed by this government. This, together with the completion of the Dominica China Friendship Hospital and the new Marigot Hospital, instill a sense of pride in every Dominican. I am pleased to report to this honorary house that very soon we will see a brand new type 3 health and wellness center right on the St. Joseph Highway. Mr. Speaker, the modern state-of-the-art building will host an array of critical departments and will serve the entire St. Joseph Health District to include Colliho, Kulibistri, Salisbury, Mero, St. Joseph, Layu, Taro, and the Bells. Mr. Speaker, we will have in this new health center a complete dental care department with X-ray services. We will also have pharmacy, a maternal and child care unit, an emergency care unit, among other units. And in an effort to bring services closer to the community, we will be bringing specialist clinics to our new center. Mr. Speaker, I'm staying close to that project. It is dear to my heart. Mr. Speaker, the secret to good, healthy citizens is a progressive primary health care program. As a medical doctor, my vision for every Dominican is to be healthy. This is why the new initiative by the Ministry of Health to revamp our fight against NCDs by boosting our primary health care has made me very happy. My vision is to see St. Joseph Health District lead in this effort as we did in the past. And I want to pause here to say thank you to some of our great nurses who used to lead that effort. I want to say thank you to Nurse Privo. She alone did a whole lifestyle change program in St. Joseph. I want to also say thank you to persons like Nurse Veronica Coffey, who has also done well. Nurse Donna Pelpier, who was also instrumental in training of our Yes We Care caregivers. I say thank you for these people because we have done well in primary health care in St. Joseph. Mr. Speaker, that is why part of the new St. Joseph Health Center will be dedicated to prevention and wellness in an effort to promote healthy lifestyles. I look forward to working with all our healthcare workers, and I thank them for their service to our communities. Mr. Speaker, we will also provide offices within this new health center for the officers of the Environmental Health Department, the Drug Prevention Unit, and the Welfare Department, all in an effort to bring these services
10 more minutes
to the community. Mr. Speaker, also to help our people remain health conscious, special attention is being paid to sports in the community. In the last financial year, I was able to secure funding from the Dominica Lottery Commission for the lighting of the St. Joseph playing field. Mr. Speaker, over $100,000 was spent on the widening and lighting of the playing field. This has been well received by our young sportsmen, and on any night you can drive down to St. Joseph to see our young people either playing football or playing rounders. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, the Father's Day football competition under the lights was a talked about event for many weeks after Father's Day. The intention this financial year, Mr. Speaker, is to build retaining walls on the cemetery end of the playing field to prevent further erosion on that end. In addition, we will continue to pursue the enhancement of our basketball hard court. We are currently working on designs to include a comprehensive plan to cover the courts, proper drainage, upgrade of the washrooms, players' change room, and spectator stands. Mr. Speaker, during the time that there was no basketball court in the Roseau area, our basketball court was the place that every national game was played. Therefore, I am going to pay special attention to enhance this court. Mr. Speaker, we'll also be working on the clearing and leveling of the Mero playing field, the drainage of the Bells playing field, and the development of the Hillsborough Gardens playing field. Mr. Speaker, this year, work was completed on the Eastern Hillsborough Bridge at a cost of almost $9 million. We are very grateful to the Minister of Public Works and his staff, all of whom worked closely with me throughout the process. I am also thankful to Honorable Laville and his staff for the erection of 2 new bridges in the wet area in Bells, as well as retaining walls and a section of the road in Glogommier. Presently, estimates are being calculated for the completion of the Glogommier Road. Mr. Speaker, in this financial year under the Ministry of Public Works and the Digital Economy, over $3 million is budgeted for the Layu Reconstruction and Rehabilitation Project. Under this project, we will see the completion of the first phase of the reconstruction of the 4-kilometer Layu Valley Road between the Hillsborough Bridge and the York Valley Bridge, which is well advanced, costing $17 million. We'll also see the resurfacing of the portion of road between the York Valley Bridge and the junction of Sultan and Warner. Mr. Speaker, as the Minister said before, we are indeed elated, and we cannot wait to enjoy this road, as we will certainly revamp both our agricultural and tourism products in the Layu Valley area. Mr. Speaker, we also look forward to using this road on our way to Bells, and of course on our way to the new international airport that is surely coming soon. Mr. Speaker, my farmers in the area are certainly excited as they will be able to increase their production significantly in line with this administration vision for the agricultural sector. Mr. Speaker, my cow home farmers are smiling. Oh, yes. They will be benefiting from the rehabilitation of the Cuba cow home road. Mr. Speaker, other infrastructure roads in the constituency includes a 10, give me 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to request an additional 5 minutes for the Honorable Minister to wrap up. Mr. Speaker, I move that the Honorable Addis King be granted an additional 5 minutes to complete a presentation.
Seconded.
It have been moved and seconded that the Honorable Minister be granted an additional 5 minutes. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Minister, you are granted an additional 5 minutes.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, this $10 million budgeted for the retaining walls in Bells is well received. We are excited. Not only will we be making the road passes safer for the people who pass on this road every day, as this is the preferred road to transit from the city of Roseau through Bells and to the airport, as well as most of the people who live on the further end of the Kalinago territory. They also use that road on a daily basis to get into town. So as my honorable colleague, Honorable Cozier Frederick, is very happy because he passes through Bells every day. Yes. So, Mr. Speaker, we are elated about this. Mr. Speaker, earlier I listened to the Deputy Speaker, and he informed this House that the Layu Resource Center has been buzzing with activity over the last financial year. Mr. Speaker, this hurricane shelter / resource center has been put to use as an actual resource center. And on any day, and when you pass, you will see the transformation of this area. The fencing of the facility to secure it was done by our local contractors and is admired by all. Our short courses planned at community level continues. The new youth skill training modules in stonewall construction and electrical wiring is in response to listening to our young people. The stonewall is indeed a work of art, and I want to thank our facilitator from Meru, Mr. Julio Ferrara, for his excellent work and his transfer of knowledge. I also want to congratulate the young people who were very, very, very regular in their pursuit, and they were very excited about learning a new skill. And as my honorable colleague said, if you pass, you will see the different types of stonework, and you can also request for these stoneworks, the style that you want to be done at your home, and Mr. Ferrara and his students can all be able to do that for you. So anybody who wants to do stonewall, I am there. I also would like to thank Mr. Watson Canoville, who was our facilitator from Layu of the electrical wiring, and Mr. Leonard Green of Bells, who is the facilitator of our computer literacy modules, respectively. Special thanks goes to the Sky Country Coordinator, who partnered with DYBT to bring the Young Entrepreneurship Outreach Training Program to the Western District. I will continue to listen to my young people in the St. Joseph constituency, as together we can continue to add to our skills training modules and short courses. We look forward to the engagement with the digital economy as we continue to look for new and innovative ways to engage the youth. Honorable Minister, Mr. Speaker, I am elated that the Layu Resource Center will also be one of the satellite centers of excellence under the digital transformation program. Mr. Speaker, this budget is basically agriculture, and it would be remiss of me not to say that I'm excited, because Bells is a farming community, St. Joseph is a farming community, And Mero and Layu also has quite a number of farmers. So, and Mr. Speaker, as well, the abattoir is in my constituency. That is the one thing I can claim in Layu Park that's in my constituency. So I want to say thank you to the Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Fidel Grant, and the Minister of State in Agriculture, Honorable Riviere, for their work that they have been doing in the agricultural sector. And I want to say a special thank you for the $1 million that will be placed to enhance the abattoir. And I'm already thinking of ways I can incorporate my young people in benefiting from this. Mr. Speaker, one of my vision is to have some of my young men. I might want to talk to Honorable Grant about his block to farm, but we will be doing block to cage, and therefore we will take on the we will take on the opportunity in enhancing our broilers. So I would like to see some of my young men. I'll create the space for them, and so we can start wearing broilers, and our investment in and our investment in the abattoir will become very important. But before I finish, I also want to say thank you to the Minister for Tourism, Honorable Dennis Charles, and the PALSEC in the Ministry of Things for the work that they have done on both tourism facilities in Layu and Mero. I want to say very thank you. And I just want to tell them that I'll be needing their support soon, because Titi Wifet will be coming back in a big way this year. Mr. Speaker, I have been meeting with the people of the Layu community, and I know Honorable Ian Douglas is very excited, because that was actually the very first place that I met him, at the Titi Wifet in Layu. So the Titi Wifet in Layu is coming back in a big way, and I want to take the opportunity to thank Father Coffee, because it will also be part of the World Rivers Day. That will take part of the celebration, and we have been organizing, and we are just hoping that the hottest DJ right now, the Suki, will be performing at the Titi Wifet. Before I leave, I want to say thank you to my team in the St. Joseph constituency, my staff, my NEP supervisors and workers, my Yes We Care supervisor, and all the Yes We Care caregivers, and all the people of St. Joseph, the people who call on me every day. I want to say a special good night to Jack Fontaine, and I know Jack is listening attentively, because Jack always makes sure that he calls the radio and he calls his PAL rep. And before he does that, he also calls his PAL rep to say, PAL rep, you wake up, you good? So I just want to tell him thank you. And I want to actually say thank you to all my team leaders in all the different communities. Thank you for being my strength for all of this. I want to say to my brothers and sisters who we have just lost our father, I want to tell them that God is good and we will get through this. And just say thank you, Lord. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Yes, Honorable Alfred, I recognize you on your feet. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to begin first by extending sympathy to Ms. Amanda Clark, the office secretary whose mother passed recently. And Mr. Speaker, I'm delighted to be able to join my colleagues on this side of the House to give my support to the national budget for the fiscal year 2022-2023 under the theme, Rising Above the Challenges, seeing beyond the horizon, embracing all opportunities to deliver dynamic Dominica. Mr. Speaker, Dominicans on both sides stood in awe, having heard the budget presentation, because this is more than about the benefits and reliefs that this budget offers. Mr. Speaker, this budget gives hope to Dominicans. Mr. Speaker, considering what is going on around the world and the ripple effects that are felt by countries like Dominica, the line in the national anthem, Dominica, God has blessed thee, has taken a new life. All programs continue, new salaries were paid, and no cuts in the public service. The construction industry continued to thrive. 90% of projects articulated in the last year's budget commenced, and more than 50% of these projects articulated in last year's budget are completed. The truth is, Mr. Speaker, what we have heard from the Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, who is also the Minister of Finance, is a budget that represents courage, wisdom, perseverance, hope, and persistence. A budget for a country which is ready to contend on international levels despite our limitations and challenges. Mr. Speaker, for the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence, this year was defined by the challenges posed and responses to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Ministry of Education resorted to strictly online classes for 2 terms. Mr. Speaker, despite our challenges, the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence continue to be more responsive by providing citizens with education that prepares them to participate in the national, regional, and global economy. Mr. Speaker, the expansion of the Human Resource Development Unit improved the efficiency in the Ministry of Education, particularly in responding to students studying out of state and addressing their concerns. The budget allocation towards tertiary education for the academic year 2021-22 was just over $11 million, a 10% increase from the previous academic year. In addition to financial assistance, the Ministry of Education continues to facilitate fully funded scholarships from the government of the People's Republic of China, Morocco, the Republic of Cuba, Serbia, Romania, and organizations such as the OAS and the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission. The ministry also awards merit-based scholarships to the top performers in each faculty of the Dominica State College. The FOC Harris Scholarship is also a merit-based scholarship. Students are pursuing studies in various aspects of agriculture, finance, engineering, health, management, economics, business, and information technology at various institutions in the Caribbean region, the USA, Europe, and 175 students graduated this year from several universities. Under the Dominica Labour Party, the education system and opportunities for education have been transformed. We continue to provide opportunities for training for the numerous jobs which our investment and policies are creating in the economy. Our people must be ready to work in the jobs that the new international airport, the digital and blue and green economy, and the new modern health facilities and the geothermal projects will provide. Mr. Speaker, the Dominica State College must be commended for successfully offering the entire academic year online with face-to-face for technical and practical labs. 398 students graduated from the college on the 14th of July. Mr. Speaker, Senator John Finn had asked some questions that she had expected the Minister of Education to answer, but she's not there. However, I'll still answer the questions because the answers will get to her. So, Mr. Speaker, it was the This Labour Party that put in place measures to enable all secondary graduates to attend college. It was this Labour Party that introduced tuition at no cost to students, and it was this Labour Party that began to support students attending college with a transportation allowance. So, Mr. Speaker, when Senator John Finn tries to attack our college that we built and grew and ask, are we failing our youth? I would say to her, instead of sitting under the gazebo by the bay with 4 people feeding her information for her presentation and coming to this honorable house, bold-faced enough to say, I was told. She should read, research, reflect. That's what good teachers do. Find out how many students graduated from college yearly under the UWP and compare the figures to the numbers graduating under the Dominican Labour Party. And therein lies the answer to who failed the youth. Because under this administration, the number of graduates from the Dominica State College has more than tripled. The college partnered with 2 Canadian universities to participate in a Canadian regional program, SAGE, which is Skills to Access the Green Economy, in which learners will receive different levels of certification in carpentry and construction. Those programs will be offered at a newly renovated workshop at the Dominica State College through face-to-face and distance learning. Certificate programs will also be offered at Calls Center in Portsmouth. Mr. Speaker, I say thank you graciously to the Canadian Regional Program, not with the level of sarcasm that Senator John Finn said thank you with. I want Senator John Finn and all Dominicans to understand that no organization, no financial institution, no other country can engage in any activity in Dominica without the involvement of the government of Dominica. So therefore, when we say nothing is being done at the college, thanks to the Canadian for fixing a room, whether it's Canada, whether it's China, whether it's World Bank, whether it's Caribbean Development Bank, it is through the efforts of the government of Dominica. When the SAGE officers came to me, part of their commitment was to renovate the workshop to facilitate the running of the program, and I thank them for that wonderful partnership. Mr. Speaker, institutions partner with foreign governments based on their track record. This Dominica Labour Party, through the Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, has earned Dominica an excellent track record. Mr. Speaker, this year the college signed new MOU and articulated agreements with 4 universities in the USA and 1 each in Canada and France. The college partnered with the Chinese International Education Foundation to establish a Confucius classroom, which will provide non-Chinese citizens the opportunity to learn about China's history, culture, and language, and for Chinese citizens to learn the same about Dominica. We congratulate the Dominica State College for placing 2nd in the Windward Island Colleges debating competition. Well done, Dominica State College. Mr. Speaker, for the academic year 2021-2022, the Dominica TVET Council conducted several training sessions for assessors and verifiers. 15 persons will be certified as CVQ assessors. Mr. Speaker, this Dominica Labour Party administration continues to invest in TVET as we strive to provide our citizens with training that provides knowledge and skills for development. Mr. Speaker, Dominican students continue to do better than many in the region in regional exams. 15 secondary schools submitted a total of 826 candidates for the CSEC examination. 630 students passed 5 or more subjects, while 55 students from 8 secondary schools obtained 6 or more grade 1s. Boys outperformed girls in 12 of the 32 subjects. Dominica performed 9.4% above the regional average, with 12 of our 15 schools performing above regional average in 29 out of the 34 subjects. 284 private candidates took the exams in 32 different subject areas. Mr. Speaker, failing the youth? Do these results amidst the challenges of COVID reflect the context of an administration that is failing the youth? People on the opposition side must not try to write another book of lamentation, because the one in the Bible is enough and the facts are there for all to see. And Mr. Speaker, we must begin to be very careful, because in recent times, Dominicans are growing more in intelligence. The recent World Population Review ranked Dominica number 8 out of the 10 most educated Caribbean countries with a 94% literacy rate. Senator Johnson can tell what was the literacy rate when she was an education officer, if she remembers. Failing the youth? Who failed the youth? And Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education has already developed an additional component to our remedial program to assist those students who are falling behind. This will include national assessment in literacy and numeracy from grade 1 to grade 6 at all government primary schools at the end of the school year. So no longer will it be grade 2 and grade 4 and grade 6. All grades from 1 to 6 will be assessed, and not in October of the new school year, but at the end of the school year. This will serve as the end-of-year exam for students in mathematics and language arts, and this will also give the ministry a chance over the summer holidays to know who we have to prepare what type of remedial programs for. Mr. Speaker, 672 students from 8 secondary schools wrote the CCSLC exams. 7 subjects were done online. This year, the first sitting of digital literacy in the region was taken. I congratulate the Castle Secondary School for being the only school to attempt this subject and receiving 100% pass. 7 schools showed an upward trend in the performance in English, and 6 schools shows marked improvements in mathematics. High commendations to the Dominica Community High School and the Castle Secondary School for receiving 100% pass in English and mathematics, respectively. CBSS student, Mr. Jason Joseph, and DGS student, Ms. Tanya Valmore, received the CXC Award for top male and female students, respectively. We congratulate all our students on their achievement. Mr. Speaker, this government understands that early childhood is where children learn basic, critical, social, and emotional skills. Our record shows that approximately 575 females and 603 male students are enrolled at 87 early childhood centers all over Dominica. The first to increase access to early childhood education continued with the upgrading of the pre-kindergarten classroom at Delices, Montjean, and Grand Bay Primary. For the first time, the pre-kindergarten will be accommodated in the W.S. Stevens Primary School and the Maho Primary School. Under the OECS POEL, funding to increase access to early childhood education will continue with the upgrade of centers at Caleb Laura, Jones Beaupier, Salibier, and Cassibruce Primary. This year, an early childhood facility will be constructed at the Baroness Patricia Scotland Primary School in Viecas, funded by the Maria Holder Memorial Trust. As part of the managing and developing of a modern education system, the Ministry of Education collaborated with UNICEF $20,000 US was spent to train 66 early childhood educators in the high scope curriculum. In addition, 23 early childhood educators will graduate from UE next week from a training program. We commend highly the efforts of these early childhood educators. Mr. Speaker, in partnership with Israel Aid and the Ministry of Education, developed an activity book on multi-hazard and safety for children in pre-kindergarten, and a tutorial video for teachers is being developed. As we move closer to achieving universal secondary childhood education, the early childhood policy was revisited to regulate and standardize crucial components. The draft policy and regulations are ready for review by stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, in an effort to ensure that all our children succeed, special emphasis is being placed on special education as we continue to cater for those students at the primary and secondary schools. Under the Academic Recovery Program, several training sessions were conducted with principals and teachers. Presently, we have 7 teachers qualified up to master's level in special education. We will devise a schedule to ensure that these teachers fully utilize their skills and their knowledge to benefit the special needs students in Dominica. Mr. Speaker, the library service continues to provide the enabling literacy tools online and face-to-face for every group within the population through a robust supply of literature research, leisure and informative reading, and technical support provided by the Dominica Aid International, by the Dominica Aid Book International. We extend congratulations to Ms. Renata Charles, Education USA Advisor in Dominica at the Roseau Public Library, who won the 2022 Award for Innovative Virtual Program in the Western Hemisphere on June 14, 2022. We thank Mr. Juari Tong for his 26 years of service to the library, and we wish him a happy retirement. Mr. Speaker, over the past year, the education sector in Dominica has benefited greatly from several training programs organized by UNESCO. These included trainings in special education, TVET, Safe School Initiative, water resource management, adult education, and early childhood education, and ICT. Mr. Speaker, education has evolved rapidly over the past decade. Modern education system call for robust management, supervision, and support structures within the school. The government implemented a new organizational structure as of September 1, 2021, which included 230 new and upgraded positions for government secondary schools to create an opportunity for the upward mobility of teachers with a corresponding increase in salary. To date, we have 15 deputy principals appointed, 7 assistant principals, 49 senior qualified teachers, 19 senior graduate teachers, 11 school counselors, and 62 heads of department. This is not only part of the ongoing comprehensive organizational review and reclassification of the public service of Dominica, but it is also in our effort to improve the quality of teaching and learning. We are happy that schools are already reporting the improvements that this has brought to their institution. Mr. Speaker, a similar exercise has also commenced for primary schools. Mr. Speaker, the Curriculum and Assessment Unit, which is responsible for managing and modernizing the curriculum, did much work to offer opportunities for lifelong learning and improvement of the quality of teaching and learning. 16 officers, principals, and teachers are currently pursuing a postgraduate certificate in curriculum and assessment. And 38 teachers are enrolled in a training program in action research offered by the University of the West Indies and Eastern Caribbean Joint Board Training for Education. Training workshops in assessment, reading, HFLE, the teaching of science, history, and geography, and social studies were conducted with all heads of department of secondary schools and grade 5 and 6 teachers or primary school. We commend the 5 Spanish teachers who completed the International Spanish Diploma offered by the Chile Agency of International Cooperation, and we also congratulate the 7 French teachers who completed their program in Martinique. As we move into the reformation of the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence, to reflect the vision of the new season in Dynamic Dominica, we pay special attention in preparing our students to be productive, psychosocial competent, financially competent, and self-sufficient adults. The draft civics curriculum, which include topics on peace, patriotism, the Constitution of Dominica, leadership, nationhood, life skills, parenting, and financial management, will be reviewed in the new school year. Mr. Speaker, experience has shown that students enrolled in clubs create a more balanced learning environment. It builds students' confidence and their social skills. It provides opportunities for them to undertake their civic duties. Therefore, government will appoint a director for 4-H within the Ministry of Education to lead the expansion and development of 4-H clubs in our primary and secondary schools. Mr. Speaker, we continue to provide for the vulnerable students in the system through various safety net programs to include school transfer fees, payments of CXC exam fees, transportation, uniform, school supplies, and textbook scheme. Mr. Speaker, 9,000 students around Dominica benefited from one or more of the safety net programs, which cost $4.2 million. Mr. Speaker, 39 primary and 5 secondary school students operate school feeding programs costing $1.3 million annually. School is a safe place. School is a comfortable place. We hear about child abuse, and there's a connection between schools being closed and the high rate of child abuse. While our children were online, they suffered all kinds of abuse. And the Ministry of Education, we are doing our share to keep our children safe. But the community must take care of these children when they are not in school. Therefore, it is everybody's responsibility to keep our children safe. Mr. Speaker, data has shown that these safety nets have contributed immensely to improve students' attendance and performance. This government will ensure that all our safety net programs continue. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education encourages the integration of technology in the classroom at the earliest possible stage as we prepare our students to be ready to contribute to building the digital economy. We have seen great improvements in the use of technology as a tool for educating students both online and in the classroom. Mr. Speaker, the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica has invested significantly, along with non-profit donors, in improving the development of ICT in education. 100% of schools are involved in online education, and every teacher in every school is trying to infuse technology in teaching and learning, despite the challenges with internet. In addition, every school has leaders in technology who take on the responsibility of improving the use of technology in their schools, as well as retraining and inducting teachers into the school's technology program. Mr. Speaker, the $11,000 robotics program is now up and running. 30 students participate in regular classes conducted via Google Classroom. The Ministry of Education has purchased 9 robotics kits for hands-on training. A team of students will represent Dominica at the 2022 First Global Robotics Challenge in Geneva, Switzerland. These students were introduced to artificial intelligence, machine learning, and machine vision. A robotics room was set up in Bath Estate at the former JSP building. This building will be used to design and build Dominica's robots for the 2022 Robotics Olympics. Clap for the children, robotics. The Rosa Primary, the St. Martin Primary, the St. Mary's Primary, and the Dominica Grammar School are pilot schools for the in-person robotics classes. Mr. Speaker, I hope Senator John Finn is getting her answer to this question posed to the Minister of Education. Who is failing the youth? You take it. Mr. Speaker, the Education Management Information System, which has existed for 11 years, has provided the features of resilience and flexibility. During the pandemic, teachers and students could continue to receive feedback on their performance on a regular basis. In addition, the system was also able to export all the required data for contact tracing of school-related personnel when required. 39 teachers underwent an intense certified course in the integration of ICT into learning. The course was certified by the OECS Joint Board of Education. 83 teachers participated in the ICT for Dominica certificate program. Approximately 12,000 devices were distributed among students to ensure continuation of learning during the pandemic. The Curriculum and Measurement Unit of the Ministry of Education has successfully piloted online national assessment at various levels. Mr. Speaker, this saved the government a lot of money in paper because the children could do their assessment online. Mr. Speaker, COVID-19 allowed for an analysis of the national education system and not just the online platform. We understand that technology is the key to productivity, efficiency, and competitiveness in the global economy. Our students must be ready. Our citizens must not be left behind. Mr. Speaker, as we continue under the education reform exercise, we will continue the curriculum review as we focus on how to go beyond the test and develop assessment that will gauge students' critical and analytic thinking. Under the Pearl program, the national curriculum will be digitalized. This will allow for more parental involvement in their children's academic lives, more collaboration between home and school, and students will be encouraged to become more independent learners. This will include gamification, animation, interactive charts, interactive videos, comic strips, podcasts, sample lessons, and digital assessment. Mr. Speaker, what does that mean? Presently, parents can already access curriculum online, but that will mean that if a person has a child in grade 4, you go there, you look for the grade 4 national assessment. You want maths, you go for maths. You want adding with regrouping, you go for adding with regrouping. And you can now go for a teacher to do a sample lesson for you and your child while you're at home on adding with regrouping. You can get exercises for your child, and you can get an assessment online that your child will do. Mr. Speaker, we will not be left behind in that digital fast-forward economy. We will continue an ICT policy. We'll continue work on our ICT policy, which will guide our curriculum as we aim to teach our students to be responsible global digital citizens and who are adaptable, and they can communicate confidently using technology. Mr. Speaker, with a new international airport, use of e-passport, this is not optional. It is time to get ready for the digital changes that will come with the development changes that lie ahead for Dominica, and the Ministry of Education is doing our part. Mr. Speaker, a total of 14 projects were approved in 2021-2022 budget for the Ministry of Education. 12 of these were implemented this financial year, which represent an implementation rate of 85.7%. Mr. Speaker, thanks to the assistance of the Canadian government, rehabilitation work at the cost of $4.4 million were completed this year on the Dalis, Monjon, and Will Strathmore Stevens Primary School. The Grand Bay Primary School is also being renovated from funding from the Canadian government, and to date, $3.2 million has been spent. When this institution is completed, it will be renamed the Edward Regis Primary School in recognition of the great contribution that our fallen comrade, former Member of Parliament and Minister, has made to the people of Granby and to this nation. The Maho Primary School was also completed with funding from the CBI program at a cost of $7 million and is ready to welcome students in the new academic year. All new and renovated schools have wheelchair access and special bathroom facilities for physically challenged students and early childhood facilities. Repair work is ongoing at the Dominica Teachers College building at a cost of $657,000. The building should be ready for use by the Petit Savant Primary School in the new school year. The designs for the Goodwill Secondary School, as well as the Thibault, Tetmod, Calibishi, and Sineku Primary Schools have all been finalized and are on course for construction to commence in 2023. We are grateful to the People's Republic of China for its generous gifts and also the patience and understanding of the residents of these communities. Mr. Speaker, the tender process for the rehabilitation of the Dominica State College is almost complete, and a contract will be awarded by early August 2022. Work has started on the new Dominica Grammar School. As we heard, it's a $43 million project that will include an auditorium, sporting facilities, modern labs, classrooms, and enhanced improved facilities for teachers. Work on the additional free classroom block at the Constable Secondary, costing $1.1 million, will continue. This should be completed during this school year. In addition, rehabilitation work will start on the existing building. The equipments and fitting for the Constable Secondary School BNTF production facility will be installed soon. Berrien Academy will receive an extension under the BNTF 9 project. I want to stop a while to thank the Berrien School for all their wonderful cards that they sent to me, for their thank you cards. No, we need to talk about that, because in a time when people don't say thank you, for a school to stop and let their children make cards to send to the minister saying thank you for the device, I think this is highly commendable. Another BNTF project, the Dominica Community High School Extension, which comprised the construction of a two-floor building at $1.2 million, was commissioned. Mr. Speaker, the Clara Lionel Foundation, in partnership with Rocky Mountain, a U.S. non-profitable organization, and they are concerned with transforming energy to create low-carbon future. They have committed to install solar system at Mount Prosper and Paybush Primary School. These systems will create a microgrid at the school, providing capabilities to operate both on and off grid system, supplying cheap electricity at both schools. The Ministry of Education, Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence will get the second highest allocation in this budget, because our government understands that an educated population is an empowered population. So, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education remains grateful for our various partnerships with friendly organizations, countries, and donors as we continue in construction and maintenance of educational institutions, with resilience being our watchword.
25 minutes.
I express my I express my deepest gratitude and appreciation to P.S. Chandler Hyacinth and all the officers who work with the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence for pulling together despite our challenges and limitations. And I thank all my cabinet colleagues for your collaboration with the Ministry of Education to make it happen for the people of Dominica, especially our children. Cassie-Bruce constituency. Mr. Speaker, the people of Petit Soufrière, Saint-Sauveur, Good Hope, Mopo, Deepa, Tranto, Formel, and Cassie-Bruce proper are very grateful for the work the Labour Party government is doing in the constituency. Mr. Speaker, farmers and fisher folks continue to benefit from programs implemented by the Ministry of Blue and Green Economy. During this financial year, work will be done on the landing site at Sansove, and the minister responsible for fisheries has promised to visit our fisher folks. We are happy for the relief that has come for the bay oil producers in the sales of their oil. With the many initiatives in this new budget to improve Dominica in the agri-food value chain, and have been seriously planning to increase their produce and to improve their quality, because we need to have quality produce to supply the markets, otherwise we lose them. Mr. Speaker, I encourage banana farmers to take advantage of the measures in this new budget to support them, and we need to do all we can to keep our markets for bananas. All these new initiatives in agriculture is to help our people use their skills and knowledge in agriculture. Agriculture is not the harassing that our young people watch their parents go through. It is modern, it is youth-friendly. And as one young farmer from Cassibrus told me, I water my plants from home. That's the technology. He has his greenhouse and he can water his plants from home. The budget offers support from farm to market. Mr. Speaker, the Cassibrus constituency has benefited from the modernization of traditional crops such as cassava. The new modern $175,000 modern cassava processing plant is 99% complete. The 48 strong cassava farmers are very excited about this easy-to-tend crop. We encourage Dominicans both here and abroad to ensure that you have at least 2 pounds of our farine packed in your hurricane food box. If you contact me, I will get it for you. Remember, you do not have to light a fire to make a meal of farine. So after a hurricane, what is the best thing to have? Farine. Mr. Speaker, let me now take this opportunity to invite Dominica to begin to plan for the Cassava Fest in October to be held at the Good Hope Resource Grounds. What is the thing? What? I invite you to the Cassava Fest at the Good Hope Resource Center grounds. Something is happening. Mr. Speaker, I am well pleased that the livestock farmers are submitting proposals for their businesses. I encourage our livestock farmers to team up to ensure that we get our fair share of this budget, and so that we can support the Dominica abattoir with fresh pork and chicken. Mr. Speaker, the removal of VAT on agricultural tools and potted soil in this new budget will benefit all farmers in Dominica, but the women involved in growing vegetables and those who are involved in horticulture, they will be more productive. Yes, Mr. Speaker, the selling of potted plant is big business in the Cassibrus constituency. I know a person coming right over for plants, sit right there. And I see this business growing with the initiatives in this budget. Mr. Speaker, I highly commend the farmers who have combined their efforts and resources as we endeavor to build access roads to our farms. I want to commend Charlesworth Charles and family, Paris Durand and family, Vera Daru and family, Sherlon James and all of them and their family, Alexander Bonnet, Landa Massicott, Kent Shillingford, Sergeant Vigilant, Elsina Laura and their families. And we graciously thank the government for supporting this endeavor. We don't just sit there and lament. We are not afraid to help ourselves, because we know our government is there to help us where we fall short. And these farmers, they themselves put together some money. They engage a heavy equipment. The heavy equipment came all the way to Good Hope, Mopo, Deeper, and the farmers are cutting their roads to their farm. So we have created free farm access road, and we look forward, because government has pledged full support to ensure that these roads are completed. We thank the government for the support that we were given so far, and I want to assure the 28 farmers in Balata that the Minister of Agriculture and Public Works will pay us a visit after the budget presentation. Work, but you can't just sit down there, because everything cannot be done to one time. So while you're waiting for support from government, if you can do something for yourself, you go ahead and you do it. Now they'll come and they'll do the surface and help us do the drain. Work on the 830,000 Johnville Feeder Road is also nearing completion. Mr. Speaker, we are happy that our agricultural center will be repaired and upgraded in this financial year. And I sincerely thank our officers for their patience and perseverance. Mr. Speaker, the housing revolution continues in the Castle Bruce constituency. More than $5 million was spent in the constituency on housing this year. This includes repair work and installation of doors and windows and assistance to those who are building back. 6 families received keys to their new homes and another 7 are nearing completion. And 13 more houses will be built by government using funds from a loan by the World Bank, while other houses will be built under other initiatives under the Housing Recovery Program. Mr. Speaker, the young professionals in the Castle Bruce constituency are looking forward to benefiting from the Future Housing Program, and we are happy that some of them already benefited from the $10,000 for 40 and under. And they are showing great signs in the Work Online program too, and I'm sure they will take advantage of that. Mr. Speaker, the reduction of the transfer fees will enable more people to register their lands, and a number of parents who just had land and land paper in a plastic bag, now they are doing the right thing and giving their children their little portion, and we are happy for that. A lot of small business owners have benefited from our programs. We have a lot of people doing all kinds of little agro-processing in their little corner, but they're making big money, even in a little corner. Because some people exporting whole cartons of cocoa to Guadeloupe. That's not on our record, but they're making their money. A whole thing of coconut oil being exported, and we will continue to help them with their labels and their packaging. And as for the bus owners, I'm sure they will take advantage of the tax break. Mr. Speaker, I've always done so, but today I want to express deepest gratitude and appreciation for the health team in the Castle Bruce district. This team worked extremely well in managing the COVID-19 pandemic, and I congratulate them on being awarded for their efforts. Repair work was done at the Castle Bruce Health Center, and work at the cost of $183,000 is ongoing at the Sansove Health Center. Work will continue on both health centers to upgrade and improve service delivery to our people. Mr. Speaker, the water problem in Castle Bruce is being addressed. And I'm so happy that I'm walking in the same road, so nobody's not putting stress on Palrep, because all of us jumping on the van and we go in river. So check, all of us, all Palrep going for top of water bring for people, so they know I'm in the same misery with them. So I too am very happy about this $10 million project that will happen in the Castle Bruce constituency to address this water problem. Mr. Speaker, we say thank you for all the social support net programs that are contributing to the comfort and well-being of our people. $170,000 is paid out in the Castle Bruce constituency for the NEP workers, public support assistance, and the 70 and over, and that is every month. Mr. Speaker, the Castle Bruce constituency is not abandoned. Our government cares about us. Families continue to benefit from funeral grants and Yes We Care and the medical and other program. We thank Ms. Jennifer Graham for her work as the Yes We Care past coordinator, and we wish Ms. Bertil Danglebell, the new coordinator, well. I express gratitude from the constituents of Castle Bruce for the efforts of this government in making life better for us, and I promise my constituents that they will continue to benefit from all social support programs. Mr. Speaker, I highly commend all the young people who are engaged in sports in the constituency. Our players are playing on national teams, some are national trainers and coaches, and some are engaged in training the young children, and we are working wonders in spite of our limitations. Therefore, we are happy that this time our turn has come, and we look forward to the work that will be done on the field and on the basketball court. I want to say to the people, our lights are there, but the poles that they have, the people think it's a little too short for the size of the field. So they just order some new poles for us, and would prefer to wait and get the real deal than to rush the brush and then complain. So we'll wait. We believe that with the new measures to be implemented in sports in this new budget, Our players and our coaches, they are putting so much effort to engage the youth of the constituency, and we are happy that they will benefit from what will happen in this new budget, in wholesome activities and to help the young people to channel their energy, and I think they deserve it. And one person said, Miss, if you can do that for us, you don't know. So I promise we'll do our best. Mr. Speaker, I wish to express gratitude and high commendation to all the teachers at the Sansove and Castle Bruce Primary School and the Castle Bruce Secondary Schools. I am happy to say that all the teachers at the primary schools who are qualified for appointment have been appointed, and 20 teachers at the Castle Bruce Secondary School received their appointments. I congratulate Mrs. Grace Alfred Prince, teacher at the Castle Bruce Secondary School, on completion of a master's degree in curriculum writing with special emphasis on special education. I also congratulate Ms. Nicole Burkett, Ms. Kira Frank, and Ms. Brittany Daru, teachers at the Sansove Primary School who successfully completed their teachers' training. Let me drink a little water. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We congratulate the 24 students from the Castle Bruce constituency who graduated from high school and the 14 who graduated from Dominica State College. We will celebrate you at a reception to be held soon. Mr. Speaker, let me add a little to the answer asked by the Senator John Finn. Don't think I finished, you know, Eva. In 2020, 17 students from the Castle Bruce constituency graduated from college. They are all employed. In 2021, 12 students graduated from the college and they are all employed. In 2022, 14 students graduated from the college and 8 of them are already employed. Failing the youth, Mr. Speaker, young people, that is the part of all government advisory board now. Failing the youth. Mr. Speaker, our students benefit from all safety nets program. We have 19 students from the Castle Bruce constituency who continue to receive government assistance as they pursue higher education. Mr. Speaker, my students and young people can rest assured that their PAL rep, who happens to be the Minister of Education, will ensure that they benefit from the opportunities for scholarships. All they need to do is give me good results and we're moving ahead. We continue to upgrade the leisure centers in Castle Bruce, and we're going to set up leisure centers in the Sansove apartment and the Petit Superior community centers, respectively. These spaces will be furnished with resources to facilitate students with after-school assignments. Mr. Speaker, rehabilitation work at the Castle Bruce Youth Center is completed, and our youth skills program, we hope, will resume in the new school year. A number of young people from Sansove and Petit Superior were trained in vective aircraft, and we are training them to extend that skill so that it becomes an income-generating activity. 8 young people were among the 20 people who participated in a workshop to address soil erosion, the benefits of soil conservation and sustainability, and general land management from rift to ridge, from sea to mountain. Who's failing the youth? Youth involved in everything. Mr. Speaker, we thank the Ministry of Public Works. You're getting all the thanks, man. We're him. We thank the Ministry of Public Works for all the repair work done in the Castle Bruce constituency, and we will continue to undertake road improvements within all the communities. The restructuring...
10 more minutes.
I could make it if I get 5 more. The reconstruction and reopening of the original route to Sansove at the cost of $1.1 million will move into its final phase this financial year. Mr. Speaker,
The Minister be given an additional 5 minutes to complete the presentation.
yeah. Thank you graciously. Mr. Speaker,
It has been moved and seconded that the minister be awarded an additional 5 minutes. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister, you are awarded an additional 5 minutes.
thank you graciously. Mr. Speaker, constituents are already experiencing the benefits of the route to Sansove, and we are happy. And Mr. Speaker, well, road on the East Coast project, it seems to have slowed down. But we are still patient. Because we know after that $47.5 million is spent in the Castle Bruce section, the lives of the people of Castle Bruce, Petit Superior, Good Hope, Saint-Sauveur, Mopo, and Deeper will be transformed for the better in every aspect. Mr. Speaker, our $2.7 million, over $2.7 million was paid to 224 farmers in the Castle Bruce constituency for their land, and farmers receive additional payments as crop compensation. The $16 million Regional Disaster Resource Center is being put to good use. In addition, the Mini Emergency Operations Center and the warehouse in Castle Bruce will soon be commissioned. Mr. Speaker, we are truly grateful that this Labour Party government shows that the vulnerability of this area is taken seriously. And for our people's safety, we are glad that we are given priority. But God will keep us safe during this season. I believe that. And I expect everybody to believe with me. The tropical wave will pass, but we'll be just fine because he does all things well. Mr. Speaker, the people of the Castle Bruce constituency are thankful that this hurricane season we are safer than we have ever been in our history. All disaster preparedness committees are in place, structures are tight, and I thank all the officers because everybody is on standby. We have people who will feed in everybody with the weather report and explaining what that means for them daily. We have people, we well organized. We're well organized, and I want to thank all the committee members for the passion that they have for this disaster preparedness thing. As I close, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank God who always comes through for me. I want to thank my husband, who I call love, my love, and the rest of the family for all they do behind the scene. The people of Castle Bruce, the Castle Bruce constituency, I thank them for their love and their prayers and their support. I don't want to call them because I don't get into trouble when I come out here. But I will call Mr. Johnson Drago. I thank him for his support. I want to thank the Labor Rights and Friends group who always make it happen for me. Our NEP coordinators, Ms. Gaspar and Ms. Winston, the Labor Women group and president, the LYO, and the Petit Superior and Good Hope Village Councils. I want to thank these people for working with me to make sure our communities move ahead. I want to thank the Prime Minister and the Dominican Labour Party for giving me this opportunity to serve at this level. And Mr. Speaker, I thank my cabinet colleagues for being a good team. We work well together. Remember, there are many advocates. They see the problem. Sometimes they create the problem. They talk about the problem. They highlight the problem. They lament about the problem, and that's it. That's what advocates do. But we are more than advocates. We are burden bearers, and we are problem solvers. Let us continue to bear the burdens of Dominicans. Let us continue to solve their problems. Because all that prose and poetry and quotes that we heard from the opposition, some of which were plagiarized because they didn't cite their source. These things do not build any homes for anyone. These things do not assist any sick person. These things do not help any young person further themselves. These are just nice words. They do nothing for no one anywhere in Dominica because all they're equal to is from two literature. Amid a stressed world full of adversity, Dominica is doing well. There will always be things to do. And this is why we call her Dynamic Dominica. The Oxford Dictionary defines dynamic as a system characterized by constant change, activity, or progress. And the second definition, positive in attitude and full of energy and new ideas. That's dynamic Dominica. Mr. Speaker, hard work and God cannot fail. And I stand upon the promise of Deuteronomy 31:6 with my colleagues. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. The Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. God did not bring us this far to leave us. Let us move ahead by faith, in wisdom, humility, and grace. Mr. Speaker, we work, we produce, we perform, we achieve, we get things done. Mr. Speaker, we do not have the privilege, of sitting down in our veranda, plucking out gray hairs along our hairline. All of us have our gray hairs showing, We do not waste Dominican people time. Therefore, I say to us, God bless us all, and God bless Dominica. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I think that is the most fitting way to end the day, Mr. Speaker. I'm so very proud of my colleague, Mr. Speaker. On that note, I want to move that this Honorable House be adjourned until Friday, the 29th day of July 2022 at 10 a.m.
It has been moved and seconded that the House be adjourned until 29th July, Friday 29th July at 10 a.m. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. House stand adjourned at 10 a.m. Friday 29th July 2022.